Imagine being the most perfect lady in the empire, only to have your life explode into a literal nightmare while you pray to a god who clearly has a twisted sense of humor. Under a full moon, the palace is being ripped apart by a siege, and our girl Edele is just sitting there, begging for a death that does not hurt too much while the world outside goes boom.
She is trying so hard to keep her faith in God's plan, but honestly, when you hear the clanking of steel and the screams of dying men getting closer to your bedroom door, it is hard not to lose it.
She is praying for the strength not to waver before the pain, but the rumble of the invasion is basically the universe telling her that the fruit of her patience is going to be anything but sweet. The gates are down, the traitors are being hunted, and the soldiers are sprinting through the hallways like they are in a race to claim the ultimate prize. They reach the very last room, the only one left untouched, and you just know what is coming next. It is time for a classic door-smashing entry that would make any action hero jealous. Bang! The door flies open, and there she is. Even in the middle of a literal coup, the soldiers cannot help but gossip about how she really is a beauty just like the rumors said. They are mocking her, calling her Duchess Edele Lancaster while she just sits there with those sparkling eyes, looking way too calm for someone whose life just got deleted. A man in a dramatic red cape steps forward, and the tension is so thick you could cut it with the sword he is probably holding. Edele looks him right in the eye and asks if he is there to execute her on the spot. She is ready for the end, but the answer she gets is not what she expected at all. Nope, no execution today.
The Emperor wants her alive as a prisoner, which is arguably a way worse fate in these stories.
Edele starts questioning where it all went wrong, wondering why she spent her whole life guarding her noble pride and accountability when she cannot even die on her own terms. She realizes that being the perfect lady was basically a trap.
We jump back 3 years to see her as Edele Canyon, the girl everyone was obsessed with. She was the talk of the town, not because she was a girl boss, but because she was about to get sold off to a duke who was basically ancient. The nobility were whispering behind their fans, calling the marriage distasteful because the duke was so old he probably belonged in a museum. But Edele? She just stayed steadfast and ignored the haters. People literally did not know what was going on in her head because she never let her mask slip for even a second. She was the only daughter of Count Canyon, groomed from birth to be the perfect pawn to connect the most powerful families in the empire. She fulfilled her purpose and lived for nearly 2 years as the old duke's wife, which sounds like a total snooze fest until the treason started. Who could have guessed that this perfect lady would end up as the wife of a traitor?
Her husband had a genius plan to declare independence, which obviously failed miserably, leaving her to face the emperor alone.
Now, she's being presented like the greatest spoils of war to a man sitting on a throne.
Edele is having a total internal crisis.
She spent her life being a doll for her family, and even when she collapsed from fear, she dragged a chair over to sit down just so she wouldn't have to die on the floor.
That is some top-tier petty noble pride right there, refusing to crumble until the very end. Back in the present, the soldiers are acting like absolute degenerates, begging the emperor to give the Duchess to them like she is a participation trophy. They are literally arguing about who killed more enemies just to win her, while the nobility whispers that she is nothing more than a slave now. Talk about a fall from grace. Enter Emperor Marcus Tuberine, the man with the smirk and the power to ruin lives. He calls out his men for having zero dignity before pointing out the man who actually won the war.
He turns to Laslo Krissus and asks him the most loaded question ever. Are you not in need of a woman? The whole room goes silent as the emperor offers the greatest spoils of war to Laslo.
You can see the pure resentment in the air because the traditional nobles absolutely hate this guy.
Edele is just watching this play out, probably wondering which brand of hell she is about to be sent to.
The gossip mill starts up again.
Everyone is salty that Laslo, a former mercenary and a commoner, is thriving while the Blue Bloods are struggling.
He was made a count at 27 just because he is good at killing people, and now he is getting the Duchess too. The jealousy is off the charts. Edele looks at Laslo Krissus, the master of the empire's biggest mercenary guild. To the traditional elite, he is a nouveau riche threat and a delinquent, but to her, he is just the man who brought her here. He is powerful, dangerous, and totally unimpressed by the noble drama surrounding them. Then comes the ultimate roast. Laslo says he doesn't have any use for her. Except that his maids are short-handed.
The Emperor loses it and starts laughing, officially handing over the former Duchess to be a maid for a mercenary count.
Edele feels a cold chill of despair, wondering if all that patience was just a lead-up to this absolute disgrace.
We are kicking things off with a classic toxic family flashback.
3 years ago, Count Canyon was basically popping a blood vessel because Edele had the audacity to ask why she had to marry a guy who is older than her own father.
Her mother's advice is peak Manhwa parent energy. She basically tells Edele to relax because the Duke has a long-term lover and grown kids, so he will not bother her in bed, and she will just inherit everything when he dies.
Edele realizes her life was never her own.
Her destiny was decided by the prominent families long ago, and her father is literally screaming at her to stop being stubborn about her own basic human rights.
The Count goes full emotional manipulator mode, claiming he endured humiliation just to get her this match. He literally calls his own daughter a worthless girl and asks if she forgot why he even raised her. Plot twist. Edele says yes to the dress, but only because she wants to escape her father's house.
She is actually relieved the Duke is busy with his mistress because it means he will never lay a finger on her.
For nearly 2 years, she was the perfect Duchess mask. She did the math, managed hundreds of staff, and hosted endless parties while the Lancaster family jeered at her behind her back.
She never slipped up once, keeping a smile on her lips while waiting for the moment she would finally be free.
But spoilers, her patience was actually just her waiting for a train that was never coming. Bang! The Emperor's army storms the estate and Edele finds out her husband was a secret revolutionary. He hatched a whole independence plot without telling her, leaving her totally in the dark.
As she is sprinting through empty corridors, the ugly truth hits her.
She was not saved. She was left behind as a lure to distract the army while the Duke and his real inner circle escaped.
Out of all those people she managed, only one single butler bothered to warn her.
She realizes her life of praise was just an empty shell and she should have run a long time ago.
Her life as the perfect lady was a total scam.
Now she is hearing the clank of prison bars, realizing that a fate much worse than death is waiting for her outside that cell.
They call her spoils of war because slavery is technically abolished, but she knows she is just a slave with a fancy title. Her stepdaughter Lauren starts lashing out, mocking her even in the dungeon. The stepdaughters, Lauren and Daria, are being absolute menaces.
They are calling her an ungrateful wench and screaming that her father, Count Canyon, ratted them all out to save his own skin.
Edele is just too tired to care about their vicious words. She is saving her energy for one last thing. She would rather die than become someone's plaything, and she is looking for a gap in the guards' watch to end it. The Lancaster men are dead, and Edele's father averted his family's destruction by sacrificing her as a gift for Count Krissus. She knows a female prisoner of war will hardly be treated as human.
Her whole body is screaming in pain, but she tells herself to sleep.
When she wakes up, she has one goal: figure out a way to kill herself before the transfer happens. She wakes up at dawn, old habits of the perfect lady, dying hard even in a cell. She knows this is her last chance to find an opportunity to die before she is handed over to Crixus.
She watches her very last sunrise, thinking the sky is unbelievably beautiful.
She even eats her final meal with gratitude, treating it like a lavish feast before her final act. The guards call her name and she steps out, determined to remain elegant until the very end. Her plan is dark. She is going to jump off the carriage while they are passing through the noble district. She is hoping the servant is inept so she can succeed and die on impact. But as she glances up, she sees Laslo Krissus waiting for her, and her heart just sinks. Edele is trapped in a carriage with the man who ruined her life, and she's losing it. She expected a squad of soldiers, but nope, the big boss himself showed up.
She's convinced he's there to personally keep an eye on her like she's some dangerous criminal, and she's low-key terrified he's actually going to try and talk to her.
The internal monologue is getting dark, guys.
She knows she's the wife of a traitor, and to the commander of the Emperor's army, she's basically trash. She's wondering how he could ever look at her with anything but disgust, but the tension in this small space is enough to make anyone want to vanish into thin air.
Suddenly, the Count notices she's shaking like a leaf.
Instead of roasting her, he does the unthinkable and wraps his own cloak around her shoulders.
He literally tells her to stop shivering, and she's just sitting there like, oh, I guess I was trembling. Her heart is doing Olympic gymnastics right now, and not in a cute way.
But wait, she's not falling for the nice guy act. Edele starts plotting.
She thinks if she throws his cloak at him, it might distract him for just enough time to jump out of the carriage.
She's literally choosing a potential death over his hospitality. The girl is ready to risk it all just to get away from his suffocating presence. She's actually doing it.
She hears another carriage coming and starts her internal countdown.
1, 2.
She's visualizing the wheels crushing her, because she thinks a quick end is better than the hell he has planned for her. This is peak drama, and I am here for the sheer intensity of her survival instincts.
Right before she can hit 3, the Count speaks up and basically reads her mind.
He tells her it'd be better if she didn't do that. Imagine being so busted.
Her heart skips a beat because she realizes he's been watching her every move and knows exactly what she was plotting.
This man is officially a psycho-level observant.
Edele is officially terrified.
She realizes he put her in his carriage specifically so she couldn't pull any stunts.
He's not going to leave her alone for even a second.
The realization hits her that this man is going to be her shadow from now on, and her escape plan just went up in smoke.
They finally arrive, and Crixus is looking as intimidating as ever.
He tells her to get off, and she steps out into what she calls the hell she'll be living in. The estate is huge, but to her, it's just a golden cage, or maybe not even a golden one, considering how this story is going.
In true clumsiness meets fate fashion, her ankle gives out as she's stepping down.
She slips and starts to fall, and you already know what's coming. It's the classic trope we all love and hate at the same time. He catches her. Of course he does. She's waiting for the pain of hitting the ground, but instead, it's just soft.
She realizes she's caught in his arms, and the awkwardness is off the charts.
Her heart is going Batum again, but this time it's mostly from pure embarrassment. We get a quick flashback to her noble lady training where her teachers basically told her that falling into a man's arms is a cheap and vulgar move to win his heart.
Edele is dying inside, hoping he doesn't think she did it on purpose.
She's a duchess, not a pick-me girl, and she wants him to know it. The Count ignores the romantic tension and gets right to business. He calls for Marcia, the head housekeeper. Edele is confused because usually, a butler would be handling this. She notices the estate seems a bit
empty.
Something is definitely weird about how this household is run. And here's the ultimate red flag moment. Crixus introduces the former Duchess as a new maid and tells the staff to use her however they want. He's like, feed her, bathe her, and put her to work. Edele is stunned. He's actually going to make a Duchess scrub floors? The audacity. The news spreads like wildfire among the staff. The maids are gossiping about how a captured Duchess is now their co-worker. One maid, Mina, is already showing her true colors, looking way too excited about the chance to boss around a highborn lady. The mean girl energy is strong with this one. The housekeeper Marcia sends Edele to a tiny room at the end of a corridor. No luxury, no servants, just a creak of a door and total silence.
Edele is officially starting her life as a commoner, and the reality of her situation is finally sinking in.
She's sitting in her new, tiny room, looking at the change of clothes they gave her.
It's a total reality check.
Everything about this situation is screaming that she's not a noble anymore.
She's just a girl in a small room, and she's feeling the cold in more ways than one. Life as a maid is already looking rough. She has to bathe in freezing water because apparently, hot water is a luxury for the rich only in this house. She's shivering, but she's also observant. She notes that the Count's house is surprisingly shabby for someone with his title. Is he broke or just a minimalist? Edele tries to pull herself together and focus on reality. She's shocked to find that she's actually hungry after all that trauma.
She takes a bite of the fruit they brought her and guys, she actually thinks it's delicious.
It's the first tiny bit of joy she's felt since the world ended.
She reflects on how she was ready to give up on life because she didn't want to be someone's plaything or a spoil of war. But now that she's alive and relatively safe, she's feeling a spark of hope. As long as the Count doesn't try anything filthy, maybe she can actually survive this.
The chapter ends with Edele making a silent vow.
She wants to live quietly, fend for herself, and maybe just enjoy the sweet nectar of fruit tomorrow too.
She's willing to lead a simple life as a maid if it means finding peace. Our girl is a survivor, and she's ready to face whatever hell this Count has in store for her. The Emperor is watching Sir Crixus with that "I know a secret" smirk. He's literally asking if Laslo looks like a man who just won the greatest spoil of war. He knows Laslo is pretending to be unbothered, but the Emperor sees right through the tough mercenary act. Let's talk about the true nature of Mercenary King Laslo. This man only joined the conquest at the last minute for the cold, hard cash. He and his band of mercenaries did more for the war effort than the actual knights ever could. He's the MVP, but he's basically just a high-paid contractor. Laslo is so brazen he tells the Emperor he doesn't need anything more than what's in his contract. He has zero interest in social status or playing the noble game.
The Emperor thinks he'd make the perfect dog, but needs a better lure to turn him into a loyal hound.
Making him a count wasn't enough to secure his loyalty.
We flash back to the victory banquet 2 years ago where the traditional nobility was literally whispering in disgust at this commoner getting a title.
They're acting like they're going to be sick just sharing a room with him.
The court is a total mess of gossip, wondering what the Majesty is thinking by promoting a mercenary.
Even though Laslo won the war, he was not welcome at the party. But in that moment of isolation, Laslo definitely had his eyes on one person, Edele Lancaster.
The Emperor sees that look and realizes it's worth a gamble.
He's casting the die and settling in to watch the drama unfold. He's never lost a bet in gambling, and Edele is his winning card. In the present, Laslo is literally cursing that snake of an emperor. Laslo realizing he's been outmaneuvered. He didn't expect to cross paths with Edele like this, and it's giving him a massive headache. He only took the title so his little sister could marry into a decent family and have a better life. Laslo knows the nobility holds him in contempt because of his common birth. He's worried about how his sister will be treated in marriage negotiations. From what he's seen, noble marriages are just vulgar transactions where fathers sell their daughters like livestock. He remembers Edele being sold off to an old coot as a second wife just for family connections.
She was smiling during the negotiations, and he couldn't help but wonder if she was just greedy for power.
But despite his judgment, he literally couldn't take his eyes off her.
He thought he'd never see her again after she became a duchess.
Unlike him, she was born and raised in the noble life. Now, the very same woman is a maid in his own house. He calls the Emperor devious for handing her over as a warning to other conspirators.
Laslo realizes if he hadn't taken her, she'd have been sold off or would have killed herself.
She was found alone in an empty castle after everyone else fled.
Her own father, Count Canyon, cut ties with her just to save his own neck. She was completely forsaken. He scoffs at noble pride, not understanding why she'd want to throw her life away. But he figures if he keeps her around, he might find a use for her eventually.
He thinks if she can just move on from her past, her life here won't be the worst thing ever.
Reality hits Edele hard the next morning at the estate.
The head housekeeper, Madame Bohen, is already screaming at her.
She's mocking Edele's former status, asking if her noble house used dirty old rags for laundry. The bully vibes are immaculate here. The housekeeper tosses a wet rag at her and mocks her soft hands. She asks if Edele was too afraid to get dirty while washing. Edele just nods and promises to do better, which is honestly the most badass way to handle a hater. She's not giving them the reaction they want. Madame Bohen tells the laundry maid, Salia, not to go easy on the traitor from the House of Lancaster.
She's laughing and whispering about Edele as if she's not standing right there.
One of the other maids is actually worried there might be blowback for being this rude. The housekeeper scoffs, asking if the dead duke is going to come back from the grave to defend his wife. She tells everyone they can treat Edele however they like.
Edele realizes the housekeeper just wants to show off by overpowering a former duchess in front of everyone.
Madame Bohen is clearly waiting for Edele to break down into tears.
But Edele thinks this is all totally unnecessary.
She's actually happy Lancaster is gone, so their insults about her former house don't even hurt.
She's just waiting for the housekeeper to finally leave.
The other maids think Bohen is being way too rude, especially since they're already busy.
Edele starts her training with Salia in the laundry room. She knows she's being put in an uncomfortable position, but she's determined to finish the work in front of her. The manual labor is grueling, and Edele is worried she doesn't have the stamina to keep this up.
But she tells herself to be grateful just to be alive.
As she works, we get a dark memory of her father calling her a worthless, useless excuse for a daughter. No wonder she's so resilient. If you thought the psychodukes were the problem, wait until you meet the father of the year, Dustin Canyon.
This man is currently losing his absolute mind in his study, screaming at his son William because his daughter Edele had the audacity to not kill herself.
He's literally mad she chose survival over family honor. Dustin is an absolute piece of work, guys. He's raging about how hard he worked to keep his house intact while calling his own daughter a worthless ingrate. He's basically offended that she's alive and working as a maid because it makes him look bad in front of the neighbors. We get a flashback to Dustin groveling before the emperor. He's painting Edele as some helpless hostage that the late Duke kidnapped against his will. He's lying through his teeth, trying to convince the throne that the House of Canyon is totally innocent and just a victim of circumstance. Emperor DeMarcus is just sitting there with a smirk, watching this man crumble. He asks Dustin if he has anything to say about what happens to Duchess Edele, and Dustin doesn't even blink. He's all in on whatever punishment the emperor wants to dish out. This part is actually sickening. Dustin formally disowns her right there, saying a married daughter is no longer part of the family. He tells the emperor she has nothing to do with them anymore, all while bragging about how he offered up the Duke's secrets and half his assets to save his own neck. Dustin knows exactly what kind of man Emperor DeMarcus is. He's a malevolent ruler who brought in commoner mercenaries like Laslo just to break the power of the traditional nobility.
Dustin realizes the emperor is using Edele as a literal warning sign to keep every other noble house in line.
He's fuming because the emperor turned his daughter into a mercenary's toy just to tarnish the Canyon reputation. He feels manipulated and ridiculed, but instead of feeling bad for Edele, he's just worried about his own ego. The level of narcissism here is actually legendary. Dustin tells his sons, William and Geoffrey, to keep a low profile while he plots his comeback. He's determined to rebuild the House of Canyon so no one can ever look down on them again. He's basically the villain in his own story, and he doesn't even care who he has to step on to get back to the top. Meanwhile, back at the Crixus estate, Edele is actually thriving in her own quiet way. It's been 10 days, and she's hanging laundry with Salia and Layla.
She's not crying or throwing fits, she's just getting the job done.
Our girl is resilient, and the other maids are starting to notice. Edele even offers to help Layla hang the heavy sheets.
She knows it's not an easy job to do alone.
She's adjusting to the rhythm of the estate, finding a strange kind of peace in the manual labor.
It's a far cry from being a duchess, but she's not complaining.
She's actually proud of her progress. 10 days in, and she can honestly say she's a hard worker in the laundry room. She's getting good at it, which is the ultimate flex for a former noble. But of course, there's always one person who has to ruin the vibe. Enter Madame Bohen, the resident bully.
She shows up just to scream at Edele, calling her work a complete mess and asking if she's intentionally being dull.
She's trying so hard to get a reaction, but Edele is just keeping her head down and taking it. But then, Salia snaps.
She finally reaches her limit and stands up to the housekeeper.
She tells Bohen that Edele is actually doing quite well for a beginner, and tells the woman to go back to her own station and mind her own business. The internal hype for Salia right now is real.
The housekeeper is shook. She tries to assert her authority, but Salia isn't backing down. Bohan throws a dirty rag at Salia and tells her to show her how it's done before storming off with a stutter. Salia even sticks her tongue out at her. Talk about a morale boost for the laundry crew. Edele thanks Salia, but Salia plays it off like she's a total tsundere. She claims she only did it because the housekeeper was being a nuisance to everyone.
She warns Edele that they might get skimpy meals as a revenge move, but tells her not to worry about it.
Edele feels a wave of guilt, realizing her presence is causing trouble for the other maids.
She sees them suffering and wonders if they're all okay.
She hasn't even had the chance to really talk to them yet, but she's already worried about the blowback they're facing because of her. At night, Edele looks at her blistered and chapped hands. The labor is real, guys. But she's also realizing something interesting. Count Krissus hasn't summoned her once in 10 days. It's like he's completely forgotten she exists, and honestly, she's totally fine with that.
She's actually happy to be free from the Lancasters.
She's praying for peace and hoping she can just keep living this simple life and eat an apple tomorrow. But just as she's settling in for the night, there's a sudden knock-knock at the door.
Remember that terrifying cliffhanger where Edele thought the Count was finally coming to claim his prize in the middle of the night?
Well, plot twist. It is not our brooding commander at the door. It is actually Daisy, the youngest maid from the room next door, looking all hesitant and shy. Edele barely knows this girl, they have only passed each other in the halls with a quick hello. But Daisy is standing there at this ungodly hour because she has something she wants to give our fallen Duchess. Talk about a midnight delivery service you actually want. Turns out, the walls in this servant's quarters are paper thin. Daisy has been listening to Edele moaning in pain every single night from those brutal laundry blisters. She brought over some ointment and cream to help her heal. My heart is officially melting for this sweet girl.
Daisy knows the head housekeeper is out for blood and giving Edele a nightmare of a time.
Edele is completely stunned because in her old life as a noble, nobody ever did anything just because.
This random act of kindness is hitting her harder than any insult from the housekeeper ever could.
For the first time in forever, Edele is looking into eyes that are actually sincere and not filled with some hidden agenda. She tries to be formal and calls her Miss Daisy, but the girl is like, please, just call me Daisy. In return, our girl drops the title and introduces herself as just Edele. Things get even more wholesome when Daisy asks if she can call her sister instead. It is official, we have a new bestie in the house.
Daisy even offers to help apply the cream to Edele's back and shoulders since there is no way she is reaching those spots on her own. Edele is low-key wishing she had a diary right now just so she could record the moment she finally made a real friend.
But reality is a beast, and the next morning Salia's prediction comes true. Their breakfast is looking incredibly sad and skimpy thanks to the housekeeper's petty revenge.
Even with the tiny portions, Edele is keeping her chin up because hey, at least there is still fruit. She is used to fasting anyway just to keep that Duchess figure, so a little hunger is nothing new.
Plus, the medicine Daisy gave her actually worked, and her back is finally feeling human again.
But the peace does not last long.
After 10 days of being completely ghosted by the master of the house, Edele finally gets the call.
Count Krissus wants her in the sitting room on the first floor. Right now. The vacation from the main lead is officially over. As she walks down those fancy halls in her maid uniform, Edele is trying to convince herself that nothing crazy is going to happen since there will be other people around.
But you can tell she is wondering what the hell this bloodthirsty mercenary wants with her after all this time.
She enters the room and there he is, Count Laslo Krissus, looking as overwhelming and intense as ever. He tells her to take a seat, and you can practically feel the oxygen leaving the room.
He has a question for her, and it is a total curveball.
He asks if she is familiar with a dowager marchioness named Barbara Celestine.
Edele is immediately on guard, wondering why on earth he is bringing up a name from her old social circle.
She admits they have had tea a few times, but she is clearly terrified of what he is implying.
Laslo scoffs and says it must have been some tea for that rigid old woman to write to him.
He holds up a letter and reveals that this high-ranking noblewoman actually wrote to a bloodthirsty mercenary like him just to beg for mercy for Edele.
Edele is shaking as she reads the letter from her dear friend Barbara.
The Dowager Marchioness actually stood up for her, telling the Count that the entire Lancaster house kept Edele in the dark about the treason. She begged him not to push Edele into even greater despair. Our girl is having a total emotional breakdown inside.
She assumed everyone from her past had abandoned her because, well, treason is a pretty big deal.
But realizing that someone actually believes in her innocence is overwhelming. She is experiencing more kindness as a maid than she ever did as a duchess. While Edele is touched by Barbara's consolation, she immediately pivots into survival mode.
She is terrified Laslo will think Barbara was an ally to the Duke's schemes.
She starts babbling that their relationship was purely private and that he shouldn't misunderstand the letter. Laslo looks at her and asks if she is afraid he is going to hound the old lady.
He points out that she is trembling like he is about to literally cut someone's head off right there in the sitting room.
Edele is so scared she can barely breathe, and the tension is high enough to snap a sword. Then, another plot twist.
The big scary commander actually shuts up and realizes he went too far.
He sees her face and actually apologizes for the comment. Edele is blinking in total shock because she has never seen this side of him before.
Is the ice finally starting to melt, or is this just another mind game?
Laslo is having a total internal crisis right now.
He realizes that to Edele, he is not some dashing hero, he is the literal monster who captured and slaughtered her entire house.
He's looking at her and thinking she must be absolutely disgusted by his presence, seeing him as a cruel and vicious beast.
Our commander is low-key roasting himself for being an insensitive fool.
He actually made a joke about cutting off heads while she's sitting there trembling.
He's grit his teeth in frustration because he really just wanted to know why the Marchioness is going to such extreme lengths to help a traitor like Edele. Edele is playing it cool with some legendary main character energy. She tells him that he was just following orders and claiming victory, so there's no reason for him to feel uneasy.
Laslo is shook, wondering how she can stay so composed and rational, while her entire world is literally in ashes.
He's staring into those green eyes and can't find even a tiny shadow of resentment or hatred.
He realizes she is a true duchess because her composure is flawless.
Every word is meticulously chosen, a total shield she built through years of brutal noble lessons to keep her emotions locked away. Even though he's a count by title now, Laslo feels like he's still just a rough mercenary deep down. He's feeling a weird mix of shame and heart-thumping tension while sitting across from her.
He finally sighs and tells her she needs to be the one to reply to that letter from her friend.
Edele is totally stunned that he's actually letting her write back. He tells her to write whatever she wants, but then he drops a specific request. He wants her to let the Marchioness know that he isn't going to treat her the way the cynical public expects.
The public expectation is basically that he'd treat her like a slave or a beast, and Edele is visibly relieved he's not about to demand knightly favors.
Meanwhile, Laslo is privately fuming at the nobles who think he's a brute just because he's a mercenary.
The irony? This big scary man has never even held a woman's hand before. Laslo looks at Edele and sees a woman as tiny and frail as a small bird.
He has a little sister of his own, and the idea of being brutal to a woman makes his blood boil. He makes a fierce, silent vow right then and there. He will never lay a finger on her or mistreat her.
Edele is so moved she actually beams at him, giving him a sincere, "Thank you so much." After the meeting, she heads back to her room, and man, that drafty hallway is freezing. But she's finding comfort in the small things, like the ointment Daisy gave her for those nasty laundry blisters.
She's reflecting on the rough lives of the other maids and realizes Daisy has been working here since she was tiny.
Edele resolves to be a kinder presence for the girl. Just then, there's a rattle at the door. The Count actually kept his word and sent over high-quality paper and a pen so she can write her letter.
Edele is rushing to the desk, her mind racing with all the things she wants to say to her friend Barbara.
But she stops herself, realizing the Count will probably read every word before it leaves the estate. She has to be careful, she can't even address her as beloved like she used to. As she starts scribbling, Edele flashes back 7 years to the first time she met Marchioness Barbara Celestine at a tea party hosted by Countess Roderick. The vibe was already tense because the Dowager Marchioness was a total legend in the social scene, but she didn't get along with the other ladies. The gossip was in full swing at the party until the Marchioness actually arrived.
The room went silent because everyone was focused on the clack-rattle sound of her walking.
It wasn't heels, she was limping on a prosthetic leg, and the sound was echoing like crazy through the hall.
Edele realized the hostess, Countess Roderick, had invited Barbara specifically to humiliate her.
Ripping on someone's disability for social clout? That is a new level of noble trashiness. Young Edele couldn't stand the cruelty, so she rushed forward with an over-the-top, dramatic welcome to break the silence. She fabricated a wild story on the spot about how the Marchioness helped her when her carriage broke down in town. She even claimed Barbara refused to accept payment. It was a total lie, but it gave the Marchioness a dignified reason to be the center of attention and masked that uncomfortable limping noise. Barbara saw right through it, calling Edele a nosy young lady under her breath, but she played along. Edele was just proud that she could save an elderly lady's dignity in a room full of vultures. She's remembering how easily the social scene can destroy a person's reputation over nothing. The flashback shifts to the ladies gossiping cruelly about a viscountess seeking divorce after her family went bankrupt from a scam.
They're judging her for working as an interpreter to make money, acting like her independence is an insult to her husband.
The toxicity is actually suffocating.
The memory ends with a total mic drop moment.
Marchioness Barbara slams the table in rage, scaring the absolute life out of the younger gossips.
She rebukes them for being way more conservative and narrow-minded than her generation ever was.
And that, folks, is why Edele respects her so much. We are still in the flashback, and Lady Barbara is out here ending careers at a tea party. She is calling out the other noblewomen for being way too conservative and judgmental. She defends a woman who worked her tail off to save her sinking ship of a house, asking what on earth is wrong with having that kind of ambition. The other ladies are absolutely shook, whispering behind their fans. They can't wrap their heads around a noblewoman acting like a working man.
They think the Viscountess failed her duties, but Barbara isn't having it. She calls her a progressive woman who did what her husband couldn't.
Barbara basically tells them to stop dragging others through the mud and start fighting for their own rights. The room goes cold, and the gossip turns toxic. They start spreading rumors that Barbara devoured her own husband because she dared to lecture him on his affairs. Talk about a toxic social scene. The ladies try to play it off and move to a new topic, but young Edele has seen enough. After the party, she literally chases Barbara down.
She's realized that this rigid woman is actually the strongest person in the room, and she wants in on that energy.
Edele admits she was wrong to feel sorry for Barbara earlier. She asks if she can visit occasionally because she wants to become just as strong.
Barbara actually smiles, a rare sight, and says she would love to have those kinds of discussions with her.
From that day on, they became inseparable best friends.
Edele realizes that Barbara loved her more than anyone else in the world. She wonders if things would be different now if she had just taken Barbara's advice closer to heart instead of being a dutiful daughter.
Barbara's advice was legendary. Don't ever get used to making sacrifices. She warned Edele to liberate herself from manipulative men trying to control her.
She even tried to stop the marriage to the old Lord Lancaster, knowing it was just another trap.
Past Edele was too trapped, thinking death was her only other option if she defied her father.
Barbara practically begged her to just ask for help, promising to handle everything. Flash forward to the present, and Edele is finishing her letter, hoping to ease her old friend's worries. That was their last encounter, and Edele is clearly emotional as she sends the letter off. But while Edele is having a moment, the head housekeeper is having a breakdown. Madame Bohen has found out that the Count summoned Edele during the day, and she is absolutely steaming with jealousy.
Bohen labels Edele as a minx and is furious that Salia is taking her side.
She's realized that the younger staff, Salia, Layla, and Daisy, are all forming a little Edele protection squad, and she needs to remind them who is actually the boss of this house.
The housekeeper is a total piece of work. She calls the other maids insolent brats for not paying tributes to her. And here is the real tea, some of the staff are suspicious that she isn't showering with cold water like everyone else. Boom. Revelation time. Bohan and her crony are paying 100 ling tons a month to hoard the warm water for themselves. She's been making up excuses for the staff, but she's secretly living like a queen while the rest of them freeze. To cover her tracks and her losses, the housekeeper is literally planning to sell off items from the house.
She thinks she can get away with it because Count Krissus is never home and his sister, Lady Linnea, trusts her blindly.
Madame Bohan literally brags that the entire household is in her pockets. She's the one making the staff do grueling, unnecessary work just to maintain her power trip. She's currently whispering weird lies into Lady Linnea's ear to keep the manipulation going. Lady Linnea falls for it every time, telling Bohan to run the estate perfectly like a real noble house. Meanwhile, Edele is back at the daily grind, handing over the letter she wrote for the Count to pass along. The laundry work is endless and honestly, half of it is just busy work meant to make the staff suffer. Daisy is exhausted, her whole body aching from a day of mopping the house out of the blue.
Edele realizes this is just another one of the housekeeper's moods.
Edele notices something very strange about the Crixus estate. It's been a month, and she has never seen a single guest.
Despite being in the Emperor's inner circle, Laslo is a total social outcast.
Is it the rumors, or does he just hate people? Our girl is starting to flip the script on her impression of the Count. Compared to the manipulative snake she used to know, his general attitude and generosity actually make him seem like a decent guy.
She's rubbing her sore hands, thankful for the ordinary life she has now.
Daisy drops some gossip about the Count's sister, Lady Linnea. Apparently, staff quit constantly because she is so moody and unbearable. Since she has never worked a day in her life, she has zero empathy for the maids scrubbing her floors. The Krissus siblings were commoners who made a ton of money and became nobility overnight. It is the ultimate irony, the former commoners are acting immature and out of touch, while the former Duchess is the one learning the value of hard work. Edele reflects on how she and the siblings are perfect opposites now. She had to learn how to do laundry from scratch in this house, something she knew nothing about before. They are all just playing roles in a highborn world they don't quite fit into yet. Despite being the Emperor's right-hand man, Count Krissus lives in an estate that is giving major eerie and shabby vibes. The man in charge clearly does not care how his mansion is run, leaving the only lady of the house way too obsessed with micromanaging the laundry. Maybe they just do not know any better, or maybe they are just too busy being mysterious. Here is the real problem, there is no butler to keep things professional. Without a man in the middle, the head maid Madame Bohan is out here wielding all the power like she is the secret queen of the servants. It is a recipe for a toxic workplace if I have ever seen one. Edele asks our sweet girl Daisy if all the maids quit because of Lady Linnea. But plot twist. Daisy drops the tea and says people actually quit because of Bohan's tyranny. If they blame the lady, the Count actually gives them a great recommendation letter just to get them out safely. So our scary commander is actually the ultimate supportive boss?
Daisy thinks he is nice despite the terrifying aura, and Edele has to agree. He is scary as hell, but he is not a total monster.
Still, the management of this house is a complete disaster zone. Edele muses that the House of Krissus is a brand new noble family, meaning they are basically on trial in high society. As long as the Emperor stays in power, his favorite mercenary needs to find some powerful allies fast. This house needs a strategic plan, not just clean sheets. The strategy is simple: marriage. In this world, a wedding ring is the best way to survive the vipers in the social scene. Edele is just sitting there eating her tiny meal, hoping that whoever the Count eventually marries will at least have enough heart to pity a fallen Duchess serving as a maid. The very next day, Edele gets hit with a surprise summons. It is time for a face-to-face with the younger sister, Lady Linnea Krissus. Edele notes immediately that these two siblings look absolutely nothing alike. Genetics are weird, but the attitude?
That is 100% Krissus intensity.
Linnea wasted zero time being a hater.
She is looking at Edele with a glare that could cut glass.
Edele tries to be humble, saying she is just Edele now that her house is gone, but Linnea is not buying the innocent maid act for a second. The insecurity is radiating off Linnea. She is probably in her late teens and clearly feels like a fish out of water in her own mansion. She's trying to assert dominance the only way she knows how, by being a total brat to the woman who used to have the life she's struggling to lead. Linnea goes for the jugular, calling the late Duke a 60-year-old geezer. She asks Edele if she wanted that Duchess title so badly that she would willingly marry a grandpa. It is a low blow, even for a moody teenager.
Edele keeps it professional and drops the heavy truth. She didn't have a single say in that marriage.
It was a mandatory order from her father.
Linnea actually looks disgusted, calling Edele's father awful, and Edele just agrees.
It is the first time they have agreed on anything.
Then Linnea asks the awkward question. How did she even share a bed with an old man like that?
Edele drops another bomb, she didn't. The Duke was way too busy with a long-term concubine who handled all his illegal rebellion funds. Talk about a crowded marriage. Linnea is completely startled by the reality of Edele's former life. She asks what Edele's role even was in that house if she wasn't actually a wife. It is becoming clear that Edele was less of a duchess and more of a high-end decorative piece used to keep up appearances. Edele reflects on how she was once dying to prove her worth to people who didn't care.
She thought if she was competent and fulfilled all her duties, things would get better.
She was basically a glorified house manager taking care of undesirable tasks just to look perfect. What a foolish life she led.
A bitter smile crosses Edele's face as she realizes how useless her past efforts were.
But Linnea?
She takes that smile as a personal insult.
She thinks Edele is looking down on her commoner background while acting like a perfect lady.
The insecurity is officially screaming.
Enraged, Linnea calls her a slave and demands that she kneel this instant.
She screams that Edele is looking down on her employer.
Edele, who is officially done with noble pride, just drops to the floor without a second thought.
She is basically like, sure, my knees are cheap, take the win. Linnea is shaken by how easily Edele gave up her dignity.
She screams about how Edele used to be a duchess and should have more pride.
But Edele just hits her with the facts. She is not a duchess anymore, and noble honor is worthless value anyway. Linnea vents her trauma, accusing nobles of being liars who mock people after inviting them.
She screams that everyone owes their lives to her brother's mercenaries.
Edele realizes the poor girl isn't even seeing her. She is just seeing every noble who ever snubbed her family.
Banished from the room, Edele is haunted by Linnea's pain.
The girl reminds her of her late sister, Lynn Canyon. Lynn was another soul who couldn't endure the pressure of their world. We end on a heavy memory of Lynn begging for it to stop, reminding Edele that in this world, survival is the only real victory. Ever wondered how the Canyons got so rich while having zero class?
Turns out Edele's great-grandfather was a literal gambling addict who won a sapphire mine in a bet. He overnight his way into a massive fortune and basically bribed the emperor for a count title because the royals were broke and needed the gold. They are the imperial version of the nouveau riche with zero dignity to back it up. Because they were purchased nobility, Edele's father, Dustin, became obsessed with looking the part.
We see a tiny, 10-year-old Lynn trembling while trying to memorize the most prestigious families under his pressure. When the poor girl slips up, Dustin literally smacks her, calling his own child a foolish girl. Then he turns to 12-year-old Edele to show her sister how it is done. Edele perfectly recites the names of the great houses, Lancaster, Barrington, Tolane, and Windblair, just to keep the peace and stop the hitting. This is not a home, it is a high-stakes classroom run by a tyrant.
Dustin makes it crystal clear that Edele's only value is her potential to marry into one of those elite families.
He is using his daughters as social climbing gear so no one can ever look down on the Canyons again. He is basically selling his kids for status, and he does not care who knows it.
After another Father of the Year moment involving a smack, Edele tries to comfort a crying Lynn.
Lynn feels like a total fool, asking if she will ever be as perfect as Edele. It is heartbreaking to see a child measure her worth by her ability to memorize a list of arrogant nobles.
Edele lies through her teeth to protect her sister, claiming their father is just harsh with his words to encourage them.
She is trying so hard to keep Lin's spirit alive in a house designed to crush it.
She even offers to share her cookies and help her study so Lin won't feel so alone.
The sisters' bond is literally the only thing keeping them sane.
Lin smiles and says she is okay with anything as long as she is with Edele. But of course, Dustin can't let them have a single moment of joy without ruining it with some arbitrary new rule.
Because Lin did terribly on a test, Dustin forbids her from having any snacks. He forces her to sit there and watch while Edele is allowed to eat, telling her she hasn't earned the right to a treat. This level of psychological warfare on a child is actually insane.
Lin is so broken she tells Edele to just enjoy the snack without her while she goes back to her room to do more homework.
Edele is left watching her sister walk away, feeling a sharp ache in her heart because she knows their father is only getting worse.
Edele is fuming inside, wondering why her father is only cruel to them and why she is so helpless to stop it.
She wishes she could grow up faster just to be a shield for Lin.
She starts to wonder if marriage is actually the freedom her father promised or just another cage.
To survive, Edele throws herself into becoming the perfect lady.
She works tirelessly to be slim, thin, and always have a beautiful smile. She is training herself to be the most desirable bride in the land, hoping that being a perfect product will finally buy her some peace. While Edele is busy achieving the perfection their father demands, she is secretly hoping it will make Dustin powerful enough to finally leave them alone.
But while Edele is succeeding, Lin is falling further into the abyss of their father's disappointment. Fast forward to Lin at 16, and Dustin is absolutely losing it. He is screaming that she is a big waste of money because she hasn't made her social debut or made any connections yet. He compares her to Edele, who is already out there playing the social game.
Dustin rages at Lin, asking when she will ever be of use to him and claiming he is ashamed to even let her out of the house.
Edele is watching this nightmare unfold, wondering if she will ever truly be free, or if they are all just doomed.
Despair finally wins.
Lin tells Edele through tears that she simply cannot become a noble lady like her.
She says the only thing she wants is to fly away like a bird.
Edele doesn't realize yet that this is not a metaphor, it is a goodbye.
The tragedy strikes like a lightning bolt.
Edele is coldly told that Lin is dead.
The official story is that she accidentally fell from the third-floor balcony while looking out, but we all know the truth.
Dustin shows absolutely zero grief.
He is actually annoyed that Lin died during such a busy time for him. He warns Edele to keep the whole thing a secret so word doesn't get out and ruin his social standing.
The lack of a soul in this man is genuinely terrifying.
With Lin gone, Edele's last bit of hope withers into total despair.
She gives up on escaping and finally marries into the House of Lancaster just like her father wanted.
She realized that no one could bear the weight of a life they never asked for.
Back in the present, Edele is looking at her blistered hands and reflecting on her sister's end. She feels a heavy sense of empathy for Lady Linnea, who is clearly in her own kind of pain.
Edele feels helpless, but she is starting to realize that maybe her experience.
Our boy Laslo is finally back at his estate, but the vibe is completely off.
The moonlight is doing its best to make things look prestigious, but the atmosphere is colder than a basement freezer. Even the clip-clop of his horse sounds like it's judging him tonight. Talk about a hostile workplace. Even the head housekeeper doesn't bother to greet the master of the house anymore. Laslo is looking at his own manor and realizing it's less of a noble estate and more of a glorified military camp. He literally doesn't care about status, but the disrespect is getting loud. Laslo has a sudden urge to check on Edele, but he stops himself because he's a professional. He knows that visiting a maid's quarters at midnight is the fastest way to start a scandal that even the emperor couldn't bury.
The internal conflict is real, guys, and he is losing the battle with his own curiosity.
Back in the capital, everyone is still reeling from the House of Lancaster's absolute wipeout. The refined elite are out here calling Laslo a filthy mutt and mercenary trash because they're salty he's actually competent.
The hatred is thick enough to cut with one of his own swords.
Here comes the drama. Linnea greets her brother at the door, but she's not just saying hello. She follows him right into his room like a heat-seeking missile.
You can tell she's got something on her mind, and it's probably going to cost him a lot of gold or a lot of patience.
Linnea drops the news. She's been invited to a party by Viscountess Emerson.
She's caught in the ultimate struggle between her love for fancy gowns and her absolute fear of being judged by the snobs.
It's the classic nothing-to-wear crisis, but with imperial-level stakes. Our girl is feeling completely lost in the social sauce. She begs Laslo to find her a tutor who can actually teach her how to act like a real lady. She's tired of being the commoner girl at the party who doesn't know which fork to use for her social survival. Laslo is not falling for it. He points out that every tutor he's hired has quit within 2 weeks because of her legendary tantrums. He's looking at her like, "Are you for real right now?" The sibling bickering is reaching peak levels of relatability.
Linnea's defense is actually kind of sad.
She says those tutors were total snobs who ridiculed her for being a commoner. They treated her like she was too dull to ever understand high society. Honestly, I'd throw a tantrum too if my teacher was calling me peasant between lessons. She's out here making the excuse that since she has to take all that noble judgment in public, she should be allowed to be a nightmare at home. It's the ultimate if you can't handle me at my worst argument, and Laslo is just standing there taking the verbal damage. Then the conversation takes a dark turn toward Edele. Linnea starts mocking the former Duchess, calling her pathetic because she has zero noble pride.
She's basically bragging about how she made Edele kowtow to her, and she thinks it's hilarious.
Red flag alert. Laslo officially snaps.
He erupts in anger, screaming his sister's name so loud it probably shook the windows.
He is not having this bully era. He's scolding her for being cruel to someone in a weaker position, and the look on his face is pure, disappointed older brother.
He hits her with the truth. By trampling on a maid, she's becoming the exact kind of trashy noble they both hate.
He calls her a coward because she only dares to pick on Edele since she's too scared to stand up to the actual ladies who mock her. Talk about a reality check. Linnea is tearful now, accusing him of being a know-it-all who doesn't care about her pain.
She's playing the victim card hard, crying about the ridicule she endures daily.
It's a total emotional breakdown, and she's not backing down from her life as hard stance. She storms out, slamming the door hard enough to wake the dead.
Laslo is left alone to sigh and curse the Emperor for this whole situation.
He never wanted to be a count, he just wanted to be a mercenary with a manageable family. Laslo is reflecting on that snake DeMarcus.
He recalls the Emperor's speech about him being a symbol for the mercenaries.
He realized he was trapped in this fate the moment he accepted the title.
He's a warrior playing dress-up as a noble, and he's clearly over it. The Emperor's words are haunting him, authority will protect everything you value. But right now, Laslo doesn't feel very protected. He's feeling like a pawn in a game where the rules keep changing, and his sister is the wild card that's ruining his deck. He decides to try and fix things with the classic expensive gift strategy. He's going to get her a necklace and one final tutor for the party. He's hoping that gold can buy a little bit of peace in this chaotic house, but we all know that's just a temporary fix.
His thoughts drift back to Edele, and you can see the guilt eating him alive. He's wondering if she's crying alone right now, feeling humiliated by his sister's actions.
He's pacing the room, looking like a man who wants to do the right thing but isn't sure how. He considers apologizing on Linnea's behalf, but then he's like, wait, that makes my sister look bad.
He's overthinking everything. He tells himself to just ignore it, but the last shot of his face tells us he's definitely not going to stop thinking about the former Duchess.
Deep in the shadows of the capital, the elite nobility is having a major salt fest. Marquis Tolane and Duke Barrington are whispering in absolute disgust because a member of the imperial family actually joined hands with a lowly mercenary like Laslo Krissus.
They think Emperor DeMarcus is a total brute with zero refinement, and honestly they're basically calling for a new boss.
These high-ranking lords are too cowardly to step into the light just yet. They'd much rather borrow the hands of lesser nobles as pawns to shake up the regime. They're playing 4D chess while everyone else is just trying to survive. It's peak old money arrogance, and it's honestly kind of pathetic. Their gossip turns to the House of Canyon, and they're being extra mean today. They're mocking how Count Canyon sold off his daughter Edele to the Lancasters and then to the Emperor just to keep his own head. They dismiss him as a trivial man who could never pull off anything worthwhile.
Talk about being the laughingstock of the Empire.
Inside the Crixus estate, Edele is having a literal nightmare.
Her father's voice is echoing in her head, screaming at her for squandering the family wealth.
In this dream, Dustin is a total monster, reminding her that her only worth was a successful marriage, especially now that her sister Lynn is gone.
The psychological trauma is real, people.
Edele wakes up wondering if all that sapphire mine wealth was ever enough to satisfy her father's bottomless greed for status.
He could have built hospitals or done some charity, but nope, he chose to buy his way into prestigious families using his daughters as literal currency. The irony is so thick you could choke on it. She shakes off the past and gets ready for work.
The morning sun is shining with a beauty that feels totally at odds with her internal mess.
As she starts her chores, she catches the end of a super tense conversation. Some man is telling a maid that a deadline has to be met at all costs. Shady business alert.
Salia greets Edele and drops some great news. The estate feels empty and peaceful because the tyrant Madame Bohen has gone out with Lady Linnea.
It's like a teacher's out-of-the-room vibe, and everyone is finally breathing for a second.
Knowing the head maid is gone, Salia suggests that Edele take a break from the laundry room and actually see the grounds. It's a rare moment of compassion from the staff. They're acknowledging how much stress she's been under since that nightmare meeting with Lady Linnea. As Edele walks away, Salia and Layla have a moment of real talk.
They realize that while they can quit whenever they want, Edele is a prisoner of war.
She's stuck in this life forever, and the pity they feel for her is actually heart-wrenching. She's essentially a ghost in a maid's uniform. Exploring the estate for the first time, Edele feels a tiny spark of pride. She's being recognized for her hard work and trusted with a new task. It's a small win, but for someone who lost everything, it feels like a mountain. Our girl is slowly finding her footing in this hell. But the good vibes don't last long.
She runs into a group of senior maids from Madame Bohen's inner circle, and they are openly slacking off.
They're eating and gossiping while everyone else is working their tails off.
The corruption in this house is deeper than Edele ever realized.
Edele is low-key fuming seeing these maids push all the manual labor onto the younger staff.
She's wondering if Count Krissus even has a clue about how his house is being managed, or mismanaged.
It's a total mess of power dynamics and laziness, and Edele is over it. She tries to stay out of trouble, but Edele's luck is just the worst. She accidentally stumbles upon a secret meeting between Laslo and a high-ranking commander. The atmosphere is heavy with venom, and you can practically hear the war drums in the background.
She overhears some super cryptic talk about a crimson rat and a yellow fox.
She realizes she has walked right into a conversation about high-level political strategy and potential betrayal.
This is way above a laundry maid's pay grade, and she knows it.
Panic mode activated.
Edele tries to tiptoe away as quietly as possible, but she's not a ninja. The sound of her movement alerts the Count, who is absolutely furious. He specifically ordered total privacy for this meeting, and someone just broke the rules. Laslo storms toward the intruder, calling them a little rat who's trying to spy. He looks ready to draw his sword and end someone's career. The tension is at an absolute breaking point. But then he stops dead in his tracks. The spy is Edele. He's staring at her in total shock, and she looks like she's about to faint. This awkward encounter just went from 0 to 100, and I am dying to see how he reacts now that he knows she heard his secret plans.
Panic mode activated.
Edele gets caught red-handed and immediately hits the floor with a low bow. She's giving the performance of a lifetime, claiming she's just a simple laundry maid doing her rounds. Laslo, acting like the unbothered king he is, just tells her to get lost before things get awkward. But wait, Laslo's companion has eyes like a hawk. He stops Edele in her tracks because she looks way too familiar.
He's squinting, thinking.
And then it hits him like a lightning bolt. This isn't just a maid, this is the fallen Duchess of Lancaster.
The collective gasp in the room is practically audible.
The companion is absolutely floored. He can't believe the rumors are true, that a highborn duchess is actually out here scrubbing floors and hauling baskets. He's immediately worried that she might have overheard their sensitive political tea, and honestly, can you blame him? She was standing right there. Laslo isn't having any of that paranoid energy. He mocks his friend's anxiety, basically saying that if Edele is smart enough to steal intel just by walking past, they should stop complaining and recruit her to their guild immediately. He's out here defending her hustle while everyone else is being a hater. Now for the real reality check. The Count calls out his friend's prejudice and tells him to look at her hands. They aren't the soft, manicured hands of a noble anymore, they're rough and worn from actual hard work. Laslo is low-key respecting the grind, and I am here for this character development.
The conversation gets heavy as Laslo points out how truly alone Edele is.
A distant lady wrote to help her, but her own father, Count Canyon, has completely ghosted her to save his own reputation. It's a cold world, and Edele is just trying to survive at one laundry basket at a time. Major slip of the tongue moment. Laslo accidentally calls her Edele instead of maid, and you can tell he's feeling some type of way. But he's a professional, so he quickly pivots back to the mission.
It is time to talk about the Crimson Rat and the Yellow Fox, names that sound like they belong in a high-stakes fable.
As the secret meeting wraps up, we head over to the Imperial training grounds. Enter Edmund Milton, the second in command of the Royal Chivalry. This man is out here pushing himself to the absolute limit, sweating and grinding like he's trying to win a gold medal in being the most intense knight. The subordinates are in the back throwing major shade. They're whispering that Milton should be the top commander, not some lowly mercenary like Crixus. The salt levels in the palace are at an all-time high, and they're definitely not fans of the new management. Milton is playing the humble king card. He tells his men that everyone has a suitable position and that he's just honored to serve. Is he being sincere or is this just top-tier PR? Either way, he's making himself look like the saint of the military while Laslo is the vicious outsider. The Grand Master of the Royal Chivalry joins in on the roast session. He's expressing his total distaste for the Emperor's decision to promote a commoner.
It's clear that even at the highest levels, the blue bloods are absolutely livid that a mercenary is sitting at their table.
But hold on, the younger generation has different ideas. 3 young knights, Terry, Angelo, and Joseph, decide to go rogue. They're tired of the palace politics and the boring drills. They want to see what the legendary Mercenary King is actually made of. These 3 fanboys show up at Laslo's estate looking nervous as hell. They're fumbling and stuttering, trying to ask for the honor of training under him.
They realize that if they stay at the palace, they're just going to get lazy and soft.
They want that mercenary strength. They admit that the standard palace training is basically a joke and they need a leader who won't go easy on them. They're begging Laslo to judge them objectively. It's a bold move, considering Laslo looks like he could eat them for breakfast without breaking a sweat. Laslo takes a moment to reflect on how far he's come. The noble guards used to treat him like a stray dog, and now they're lining up at his door for lessons.
He's starting to realize that the Emperor's plan to make him a symbol is actually working, whether he likes it or not. He takes one look at them and realizes they are completely out of shape.
Their posture is trash and they look like they've never seen a real battle. But he doesn't kick them out. He finds their desire to improve actually commendable. Get ready, boys, the mercenary boot camp is officially in session. Laslo decides to test their resolve. He tells them his door is always open to those who want to be better, but he's not going to hold their hands. He's setting the stage to become the authority the Emperor wants him to be, and these 3 knights are his first guinea pigs.
The chapter ends with Laslo realizing he can't run from his fate anymore.
He has to become the symbol for all the commoners and mercenaries in the Empire. He's accepting the heavy weight of his new title, even if he still doesn't know how to navigate the noble part of it. As the knights start their grueling first day, Laslo is already planning his next move.
The pieces on the board are shifting, and our mercenary count is finally starting to play the game for real.
The Emperor's prediction is coming true, and the world better brace itself. The young knights are basically begging to train at Laslo's estate. They admit the palace training hall is way too toxic and politically charged for them to work with a mercenary.
Laslo realizes there is a massive unsure rivalry between his boys and the royal chivalry, and his presence is just making it worse.
Laslo has his doubts about these guys, but their desperate desire to get swole actually moves him. He tells them to show up at his estate next Saturday at 3 o'clock.
He's officially opening a mercenary boot camp for noble kids, and I am already fearing for their safety.
Returning to the manor, Laslo decides it's time for some extreme home makeover. He commands the staff to start a massive redecoration project. He wants this place to actually look like a count's estate for once because he's got high-ranking guests coming. Here's the grueling part: he orders all 150 curtains in the mansion to be washed and dried. And get this, it's freezing winter.
The head housekeeper is in a total panic because she realizes the estate is nowhere near ready for prime time.
A few days later, Laslo is heading to the prestigious Grania Avenue. He's fulfilling an invitation from the house of Marquis Celestine. This is the big leagues, folks. He's stepping into a world of old money and even older secrets, and he looks about as comfortable as a cat in a bathtub. He is formally welcomed by the legend herself, Dowager Marchioness Barbara. She insists on a level of familiarity that catches our stern count completely off guard. She's acting like they're old friends, and Laslo is just trying to remember how to breathe in a fancy suit. As he looks around the Celestine estate, Laslo feels a massive pang of inadequacy. Everything is so seamless and elegant, and the staff actually respects their bosses.
He's looking at his own chaotic household in his mind and thinking, yeah, I really need a better manager. Naturally, his thoughts drift toward Edele.
He starts imagining the immense difficulty she must be facing. A former highborn lady is currently toiling as a common laundry maid in his drafty house while he's sitting here eating expensive cake.
The guilt is starting to get loud.
The Marquis reveals that his family represents the moderate faction of the nobility. This meeting isn't just for tea, it marks a significant shift in the political landscape. By hosting the Emperor's favorite mercenary, the Celestines are basically saying, okay, we'll play ball with the new regime. The Marquis drops a bombshell. If Edele hadn't been under Laslo's protection, his mother probably would have kidnapped her just to keep her safe.
These people really love Edele, and they are not happy she's currently scrubbing floors for a guy with dirty mercenary hands.
Barbara is deeply concerned. She knows Edele's mask of noble grace is just a shield for all her suffering. She pointedly asks Laslo what his actual intentions are. She is not okay with Edele living a life of servitude forever, and she's demanding answers right now.
Laslo confesses the truth. He's keeping her shielded until the social scandal settles down. But he admits he is still struggling to decide her ultimate fate.
He's caught between wanting her near him and knowing he's essentially keeping her in a cold, lonely cage.
Barbara offers a bold alternative. She promises to take full responsibility for Edele if the Count just lets her go. She's basically telling him, give her to me, and I'll give her a real life. Laslo is stunned by the offer, realizing this might be the only way to save her.
Just when Lady Linnea thinks she is ready for her big debut, a messenger drops a bomb. Count Laslo is going to be late because the Emperor pulled him into a last-minute meeting. You can practically see the color draining from her face as she realizes she is on her own for this tea party disaster.
Linnea is officially in a full-blown panic. She's never hosted a tea party by herself, and she is terrified of making a fool of herself in front of the royal chivalry.
It's peak social anxiety, and honestly, who hasn't felt that I am not ready for this vibe?
She looks around her messy room and realizes the advice her maid Marcia is giving her is total garbage.
She has nobody reliable to guide her through this social minefield, and the pressure is starting to make her spiral. In a moment of pure desperation, she decides to call for the one person in the house who actually knows what they're doing, Edele Lancaster. She knows a former Duchess understands the noble game better than anyone, even if she is currently a maid. Marcia, the head maid, tries to play the petty card. She whispers that having a former Duchess serve as a common maid will totally impress the guests and show off their power. It's a total mean girl move, and it shows exactly what kind of toxicity Edele is dealing with.
Edele is summoned from her laundry duties and told she is getting a promotion, or at least a temporary change of scenery.
She is officially Linnea's personal attendant for the visit, and you just know she's ready to bring that legendary Duchess energy back to the surface. Linnea is so unsure of herself that she asks Edele if she should be the one waiting at the doors to greet the knights. Edele has to step in and explain that in the absence of a butler, the head housekeeper should be the one at the door. Ladies don't wait on guests, honey. Edele drops some expert knowledge, a grand entrance is everything. By waiting until the guests are settled, Linnea can establish herself as the authoritative head of the household. It's all about the aura of power, and Edele is the ultimate teacher. While Edele heads to the kitchen to make sure the tea and desserts are actually up to professional standards, Linnea is in her room fighting for her life. The stress is giving her literal physical nausea. Hosting is hard work, especially when your reputation is on the line. Despite the nerves, Linnea tries to pull herself together.
She reminds herself that she is the sister of the Mercenary King, and she cannot let him down.
She's trying to summon that warrior spirit for a battle of tea and small talk.
The guests finally arrive, and Edele walks into Linnea's room to find a makeup disaster.
She immediately asks for a handkerchief to start fixing the young lady's heavy-handed look. Edele is not about to let her go out looking like a clown.
Linnea is shocked to see her reflection and thinks she looks plain. She demands that Edele apply more of that trendy flower extract powder Marcia gave her. It's the classic more is better mistake that every beginner makes.
Edele puts her foot down with some legendary firmness. She tells Linnea that such bold cosmetics are completely unfitting for an unmarried young noblewoman. She's giving her the real talk that the commoner staff never could. Here is the real tea. Edele warns her that wearing that pink powder at such a young age will start rumors that she's trying to seduce men. It's a brutal social trap, and Edele is the only one looking out for her. Linnea is horrified.
She finally understands why everyone in high society has been giving her those weird side eyes. She realizes Edele isn't her enemy, and she finally starts to trust her guidance.
This is the start of a very interesting partnership. As they walk toward the drawing room, Linnea's confidence starts to waver again. But Edele is right there, whispering that she holds the highest title in this house.
She reminds her that she is the lady of the House of Crixus, and it's time to act like it.
Edele encourages her to look down on the guests with pride.
She tells her to own the room before formally announcing her arrival.
It's the ultimate pep talk, and Linnea is finally feeling that main character energy.
Emperor DeMarcus is having a terrible morning at the palace. He is literally slamming his desk in a fury because these treasonous nobles have the audacity to beg for mercy. Like, buddy, you tried to overthrow the crown, what did you expect? A gift basket and a pat on the head?
He's looking back at his father's reign and he is totally disgusted.
His dad was basically an incompetent puppet who let the whole empire rot while he focused on his own pleasures. DeMarcus is a different breed, he is a warrior who actually knows how to govern.
Our emperor is out here swearing a blood oath.
He is going to drag this empire out of the rotten gutter and bring back actual justice. In his world, being a noble does not mean you get a get-out-of-jail-free card for committing crimes against the throne. But building a new empire is not easy when you can't find real talent.
He is sitting there wondering if Count Krissus is going to bring back any good news from his trip to the Celestines.
He is playing 4D chess and he needs every piece on the board to move exactly where he wants. He is also dwelling on that secret, powerful bond between Marchioness Barbara and Edele Lancaster. He knows their relationship is as close as a mother and daughter, which is a massive power move. It is almost like Edele has a secret guardian angel in high society. It has been 2 full months since Edele started her maid era at the Crixus Manor.
The Emperor is low-key playing matchmaker in his head, wondering if enough time has passed for Laslo to catch feelings for her.
He is basically watching his favorite drama unfold in real time.
Back at the manor, the big tea party is finally happening.
Lady Linnea is out here officially introducing herself to the visiting knights. She is explaining why her brother is running late, and you can tell she is trying so hard to look like she has it all together. These knights are absolutely awestruck.
They realize Laslo being summoned to the palace privately just confirms he is the emperor's ultimate favorite.
They are realizing they are in the home of a man who actually has the power to change their lives.
Linnea is feeling a wave of relief.
She is finding that the conversation is actually flowing more smoothly than she ever thought possible. She is silently thanking Edele for all that social guidance she provided earlier. It's actually working.
Enter Edele. She is coming in to serve the tea and dessert to the guests. Linnea is momentarily worried that the simple presentation is going to look plain or underwhelming to these high-ranking knights. But she couldn't be more wrong. The guests don't even notice the tea. They are completely dazed, unable to take their eyes off Edele as she moves through the room. Her Duchess aura is so strong that these knights are basically forgetting how to breathe in her presence.
One of the knights thinks he is being clever, and uses the excuse of washing his hands to disrupt the whole party flow.
He insists that the maid, specifically Edele, has to be the one to show him the way. Bro, everyone knows you just want a private moment. Lady Linnea is left standing there feeling totally slighted and confused. Her guests are literally abandoning their host to follow a maid into the hallway.
It is a massive insult to the lady of the house, and the vibe is officially ruined.
Away from the party, the knights finally corner Edele in the hall.
The gentleman act is gone and they start mocking her.
They think it is hilarious to see a former duchess performing menial tasks and serving people like them.
They are attempting to intimidate her by asserting their authority as members of the respected royal chivalry.
They are acting like total big shots, thinking they can walk all over a defenseless maid in her boss's own house.
It is a new level of trashy behavior. But Edele does not flinch for a single second. She stares them right in the eye and calls them out for their complete lack of honor. She tells them they are behaving like rogues instead of gentlemen of the order. The roast is officially on. Edele demands to know their names and which noble houses they come from. She is basically like, I want to see which families did such a fine job raising such disrespectful boys. She is using her full Duchess energy to put these boys in their place. When a knight actually tries to threaten her, Edele just warns him that he is being insubordinate. She tells him that she will personally ensure Count Krissus hears every single detail about how they behaved in his home. You do not mess with the commander's staff. She tells them that if they don't want to be discharged from the chivalry, they better stop right now.
She is standing her ground like a queen, reminding these rogues that they are on very dangerous territory.
The fear is finally starting to set in on their faces.
Edele is making it clear that she will not stay silent about their behavior.
She might be a maid who cannot leave this house, but she is also the woman who knows their secrets.
They realize they picked the wrong person to mess with.
The chapter ends with Edele proving she still has that Duchess iron in her blood.
She is the one in control while these highborn knights are shaking in their boots.
The tea party might be a mess, but Edele just won the battle. Edele is standing her ground, warning these gentlemen that their behavior is a one-way ticket to being discharged. Instead of taking the hint, the knights are absolutely fuming that a maid dare speak to them that way. Things turn violent fast. They snatch her and start dragging her away like she's common trash.
Edele is desperately crying out for help, but these cowards are just snickering.
They're actually calling her an ingrate for refusing their golden opportunity. The level of delusion is actually off the charts.
They're screaming at her to pipe down while literally dragging her through the hall.
One of them delivers a brutal blow to shut her up, and the smack echoes through the corridor. These are supposed to be knights of the Empire? They look more like a pack of low-life thugs to me. The physical blow sends Edele spiraling into a traumatic flashback. She's seeing her father's face and begging him not to hit her. The trauma is so deep she's practically losing consciousness, calling out names from a past that was supposed to be over.
Just as things are looking hopeless, a fwish and a slice cut through the air.
Laslo Krissus has arrived, and he is looking like a literal god of war. He catches Joseph Oz and Angelo Vallon in the middle of their cowardly act, and the look in his eyes says someone is about to meet their maker. Caught red-handed, the knights immediately pivot to the most pathetic defense ever. They start spinning a lie, claiming Edele was the one who tried to seduce them. They're actually trying to frame her while standing in front of the man who literally owns her contract. Laslo isn't just a fighter, he's an observer. He reveals that he heard every filthy word they spoke from the corridor before he even entered. Their deception is exposed in seconds, and you can see the absolute terror starting to set in on their faces.
The tunes change real quick.
Now they're on their knees, begging for mercy and claiming they were just overwhelmed by her beauty. It's the ultimate backpedaling performance. They're sobbing and groveling like the spineless cowards they truly are. Laslo does something legendary.
Instead of deciding their fate himself, he turns to Edele and asks her how she wants to handle this.
He's giving her the power, showing her that in this house, her voice actually carries weight. Talk about a massive level up for our girl. Edele isn't some naive girl, she's a former Duchess who knows the law inside and out. She calmly suggests they be punished according to the military code: discharge, public whipping, and massive fines. She's out here quoting the rulebook like a boss. Then she drops the real hammer. She mentions a harsh historical precedent for dishonoring a lady that involves literal dismemberment.
The knights are actually trembling in terror now.
Edele is playing psychological chess, and she just put them in checkmate. Desperate for anyone else to judge them, the disgraced knights beg Laslo to call for Sir Edmund Milton, their second-in-command.
They think a real noble might go easier on them.
Little do they know, Laslo and Milton are already on the same page.
The adrenaline finally wears off, and Edele's body gives out.
She collapses from pure physical and emotional exhaustion, but Laslo is right there to catch her.
It's a rare moment of tenderness from our cold commander, and the staff is watching in total shock. Word of the violence spreads through the manor like a wildfire. The staff is reeling, but Laslo isn't done. He erupts in a righteous fury at the head housekeeper and Marcia.
He's screaming that they failed in their primary duty to protect a guest and a maid under this roof.
Laslo issues a chilling warning: if Edele doesn't make a full recovery, he will hold the entire staff as accomplices to the crime.
The atmosphere is suffocating, and the mean girl maids are finally realizing that picking on Edele was the worst mistake of their lives. Sir Edmund Milton finally arrives at the estate.
He's not here for a tea party, he's here to deliver the royal chivalry's final verdict. He looks disgusted by his own men, and the tension in the room is high enough to snap a steel blade. Milton confirms that the knight's behavior was perfectly unacceptable. He formally expels Joseph and Angelo from the chivalry for their complete lack of honor. Their careers are over, their reputations are in the trash, and honestly, good riddance. Despite the knights trying to argue that she's just a maid, Milton shuts them down. He insists on offering a formal apology to Edele on behalf of the entire order. He's treating her with more respect than she's seen in months.
The chapter ends with Edele finally finding justice, but the scars from the attack go way deeper than the skin.
Sir Milton is out here giving the most corporate apology in history on behalf of the royal chivalry. He is trying to act like his intentions are pure, but you can see the suspicious energy radiating off him. He claims he is just doing the bare minimum, but we all know that is a lie.
The disgraced knights aren't going down alone.
They explode in a fury, exposing that the whole manor visit was Milton's idea from the start. He basically used the promise of seeing a fallen duchess to lure them into this barnhouse of a manor. Talk about a toxic manager.
Milton just snickers while his men scream that they were used.
He coolly deflects the blame, acting like he only suggested training and even warned them to stay away from the lady. It is a masterclass in gaslighting, and the knights are being dragged away while he keeps his hands perfectly clean. Laslo is watching this whole performance with a heavy frown.
He recognizes the manipulation at play, but he has to admit Milton is clever for making it impossible to pin anything on him.
The tension between these two is high enough to start a fire, and the silent stare-down is legendary. As Milton leaves, his internal monologue is pure hater energy. He seethes with resentment, calling Laslo an insolent mercenary who stole the title and status he thinks he deserves.
He is basically the ultimate villain in waiting at this point. But here is the creepy part: Milton is becoming dangerously intrigued by Edele.
He can't stop thinking about the fallen Duchess, and you can tell he views her as a prize to be won rather than a person.
Watch out, Edele, you just got a new level of stalker.
Finally, our girl Edele wakes up from her high fever.
She is back in her tiny room, surrounded by her fellow maids who actually look worried for once. The atmosphere has totally shifted from hostile workplace to found family vibes. Salia drops the biggest shocker. Count Krissus personally summoned a top-tier doctor to treat a maid. In this world, that is basically a marriage proposal. The maids are all whispering about how the Ice Count might actually have a soft spot for our Duchess. Salia is having a total redemption arc. She tearfully apologizes for letting Edele be overworked and for not standing up to Lady Linnea's tantrums. She admits she expected a Duchess to be made of steel, but now she just sees a friend who is struggling to survive. Edele isn't holding any grudges. She reassures Salia that the kindness of the laundry crew is the only thing that kept her going. She is basically the heart of the servants' quarters now, and the bond they're forming is the most wholesome thing in this whole manhwa. They share a warm meal together, and for a moment, the maid's status doesn't matter. Edele reflects that happiness doesn't come from a title, but from a warm bowl of soup and people who actually give a damn about you. It is a rare moment of peace before the next storm. The food tastes like true happiness to her.
She realizes she never felt this kind of warmth in the House of Lancaster. It is a sweet, crunch-filled escape from her harsh reality, and she's finally starting to smile for real.
3 days pass and the fallout report is in. Daisy updates Edele on all the drama. Those trashy knights are facing a full military trial, the head maid Marcia got her salary docked, and Lady Linnea is officially grounded for 2 weeks. Justice is served, and it tastes better than that soup.
Edele is worried that her presence in the laundry room is still making Laslo furious.
She thinks she is a walking scandal and prepares herself for the ultimate breakup talk.
She heads to the Count's office, looking like she is walking toward a guillotine. She enters the office and, silence. Laslo is just staring at her, looking more intense than a thunderstorm.
Remind us that things are about to get serious.
Neither of them says a word, and the tension is literally suffocating. Edele decides to speak first and hits him with a low bow. She offers a sincere apology, claiming she brought shame and scandal upon his house. She is literally apologizing for being assaulted.
Our girl has been gaslit by her father for so long she thinks everything is her fault.
Laslo is absolutely bewildered. He is staring at her like she has 3 heads. He cannot comprehend why the victim of such a cruel incident would be the one saying sorry. You can see the error 404 happening in his brain as he tries to process her humility.
He finally finds his voice and asks her if she is really sorry.
He has realized that she truly sees herself as a burden, and it is making his mercenary heart actually ache.
He wants to tell her it's not her fault, but he is too socially awkward to do it normally. The silence returns, but this time it is different. Laslo is looking at her with a mix of pity and something much deeper.
He realized that Edele isn't just a duchess in ruins. She is a woman who has never known a day of true safety.
We end on a heavy cliffhanger.
Laslo is standing there, caught between his duty and his growing obsession with this prisoner. Will he finally tell her she's safe, or will Milton's intrigue get to her first?
The drama is officially peak. Edele is standing in front of Count Laslo, and get this, she's the one apologizing.
Laslo is looking at her like she's grown a second head, wondering what on earth she could possibly have done wrong in that mess.
He starts by calling out the head housekeeper and his own sister, Linnea, for being the irresponsible ones here. Instead of taking the win, Edele starts making excuses for the girl who treated her like trash. She tells the Count that Linnea is way too young to be hosting these high-stakes noble parties on her own. It's peak main character benevolence, and honestly, Edele's kindness is bordering on a superpower at this point. Our girl points out that anyone would be a shivering mess if they were thrown into an unexpected social nightmare like that.
She leans in and drops a truth bomb. Lady Linnea is not a hardened warrior like him.
She's just a kid who is scared of being judged by the imperial elite. Laslo is stunned that Edele is actually defending his sister. She pleads with him to be lenient with her because she is still inexperienced. Edele even warns him that if he is too harsh, he might lose his sister's trust forever. Talk about some top-tier sibling therapy from the laundry room.
Laslo finally takes a look in the mirror and admits he has been a bit of an incompetent count. He is ashamed that his shortcomings made everyone look bad, including Edele.
But Edele, being the loyal queen she is, reminds him that the knights were the real villains here, not him.
Time for a career change.
Laslo decides Edele has suffered enough in the laundry pits and promotes her to the kitchen.
He thinks the lighter workload will be better for her, which is low-key sweet for a guy who used to be a bloodthirsty mercenary.
Edele is so used to being the Empire's punching bag that she is confused. She asks if there are any other punishments besides moving to the kitchen. Laslo is just staring at her like, is she for real? Only Edele could see a promotion as a potential trap. She explains the toxic noble logic she has lived with her whole life.
In those houses, the maid is always punished regardless of the truth, just to save face for the aristocrats.
It is a messed up world where honor is bought with the suffering of the lower staff.
Laslo is absolutely disgusted by that kind of thinking.
He doesn't give a damn about the honor of noble offenders or preserving a fake reputation.
He realizes the knights were only so brave because they expected Edele to take the fall like every other servant in this empire.
Laslo grits his teeth and declares himself a lowly mercenary who has no time for these trashy noble conventions.
He is choosing rationality over empty prestige, and he tells Edele to stop worrying about it.
Honestly, our Mercenary King is the only one making sense in this whole manhwa.
Edele is starting to realize her boss isn't the monster everyone says he is.
He is more rational than any refined nobleman she has ever met.
She is smiling now because she is not afraid of him anymore. And dare I say, she actually thinks he is kind of cute when he is being principled.
Seizing the moment, Edele asks for a real workers' rights win, hot water for the staff. It is the dead of winter, and everyone's hands are literally freezing.
Laslo is genuinely shocked because he thought the firewood he paid for was actually being used. Laslo realizes the head housekeeper has been pocketing the firewood budget while the maids shivered.
He is fuming, ordering enough wood to last until next summer. Starting tomorrow, hot water is for everyone.
Our girl Edele just ended a legacy of frozen baths with one conversation. The kitchen staff and the laundry crew are absolutely beaming.
They are saved from the winter chill, and it is all thanks to Edele speaking up.
They can finally use as much firewood as they need, and you can practically hear the collective sigh of relief in the manor.
But Madame Bohen is not invited to the party. She shows up with maximum attitude, accusing Edele of making everyone's lives harder just because she got on the Count's good side. She is trying to sow discord, claiming Edele got promoted over maids who have been there longer. Salia and the crew are not having it.
They tell the housekeeper they are happy for Edele and hyped about the hot water.
Bohen is losing her mind because her authority is crumbling, and she starts shrieking at Edele for snitching to tear her down.
The drama is getting spicy.
Bohen dumps a massive workload on Edele as revenge.
She is put in charge of dishes, prep, and washing everything in the kitchen. But Edele just stays professional and tells the chef she is looking forward to learning from him. Edele, 1, toxic boss, 0.
The housekeeper is convinced Edele is a master manipulator who has already broken the Count and the staff.
She vows to watch her like a hawk and promises she won't stay silent if Edele crosses the line.
Madam, your villain arc is showing, and nobody is buying it.
We end on a heavy note with Lady Linnea crying her eyes out in the dark.
She thinks she has ruined everything because she is not a real noble and she is terrified her brother is disappointed.
It is a total breakdown, showing just how deep the class anxiety runs in this family. Edele is starting her new chapter in the manor's kitchen, and the clatter of pans is a total vibe check. She immediately runs into Lola, who is trying to pull the new girl card to get out of washing the heavy cauldrons.
Lola thinks she found an easy target, but she has no idea who she is dealing with.
Refusing to be a pushover, Edele drops a legendary truth bomb on Lola.
She firmly reminds her that the cauldron is her job, and that she shouldn't be slacking off.
Our girl is officially done being a doormat, and honestly, the new Edele is exactly the energy we need right now. Preparing 3 elaborate meals a day is basically a full-body workout. Edele is physically exhausted, but she's finding her rhythm.
She's thinking about Celia and Layla, vowing to work just as hard as they do, because she's not about to let her squad down.
While taking a breather, Edele overhears a hushed conversation at the back entrance that sounds way too shady. A vegetable vendor named Bobax is having major cold feet about signing a purchase receipt. He's got a bad feeling about the arrangement, and so do I. Madame Bohen, the head housekeeper, is out here acting like a mob boss. She's cold, manipulative, and pressures Bobax to sign by dangling extra money over his head. It's clear she's running a side hustle that the Count definitely didn't sign off on. From the shadows, Edele connects the dots. This isn't just a bad deal, it's blatant embezzlement that's draining the estate's resources.
She decides to channel her inner spy and tail the housekeeper to find some concrete evidence.
It's Mission Impossible, Kitchen Edition.
Edele takes a massive risk by sneaking into Count Krissus's private office right after Bohen leaves. She's looking for that suspicious paperwork, and her heart is probably doing 180 beats per minute. One wrong move and she's busted. Success. She finds the Bobax store receipt, and the lies on it are absolutely bold. The paper claims they're buying premium-grade potatoes and tomatoes for over 2,000 ling tons. That is a lot of cash for some basic groceries.
Edele knows the truth is rotten.
The vegetables delivered to the kitchen are actually substandard garbage.
She realizes the housekeeper is pocketing the difference between premium and trash prices.
There has to be a hidden ledger somewhere recording this fraud. Her investigation gets interrupted when she runs into Lady Linnea on the 2nd floor. Talk about bad timing. Edele has to scramble for an excuse fast, or her spy career is going to be very short-lived.
Thinking quickly, Edele claims she's just there because she was worried about Linnea's health after the night incident.
It's a total lie, but it works like a charm. Linnea is actually touched by the kindness and starts softening up toward Edele. Linnea reveals that her brother actually listened to Edele's advice and shortened her grounding. She's practically gushing about how bold Edele is to ask the Count for things. The ice is officially melting between these two. Now Linnea is asking for Edele's counsel regarding a second invitation to a party by Viscountess Emerson. She wants to know if the Viscountess actually likes her. It's almost sweet how much she's starting to rely on Edele's social expertise. But wait, we jump to a different part of the capital, and Viscountess Camille Emerson is a total mean girl. She reveals to her cousin that she only invited Linnea to mock her and make the party more interesting. It's a social trap, and poor Linnea is walking right into it. We end on a heartbreaking note with Linnea asking Edele if someone of her background can ever find a real friend in high society. She's so hopeful, and Edele knows exactly how cruel that world can be.
The drama is official.
Linnea Krissus is officially the social outcast of the year. She is desperate for a real friend, and Edele is hitting her with some heavy wisdom. She explains that true friendship isn't a race, it's a slow burn that takes time and effort. Linnea is actually listening, which is the first miracle of the day. Edele tells her to play hard to get. She suggests waiting for a third invitation before acting like besties with someone. It's basic social strategy, and Linnea is blushing like she just learned the secret of life. She is actually starting to rely on the maid she used to bully. Oh, how the tables have turned.
Linnea realizes she would have made a total fool of herself without Edele's advice. She's wondering what Edele actually thinks of her, and honestly, that's a dangerous question to ask.
But for now, they have a weird, fragile truce as Linnea heads off to her big social engagement. As soon as that carriage rolls out, the manor staff throws a literal party.
They are breathing a massive sigh of relief because the house tyrants are finally gone.
It's the rare moment of peace they all live for, and you can practically feel the collective blood pressure of the estate dropping.
The maids start gossiping, and it's getting spicy. They talk about how Linnea always returns from these parties in a vicious mood and takes it out on them. They wish she'd just stay home instead of coming back and making their lives a living hell. Talk about a toxic feedback loop. Edele isn't joining the gossip, she's actually worried. She knows Linnea's fashion sense is a disaster and that the elite are going to eat her alive for it. She's realizing that new money without old-school guidance is just a target on your back in this world. The carriage returns, and boom, nightmare mode activated. Linnea is back and she is absolutely violent.
She is smashing vases, screaming at the top of her lungs, and treating her room like a demolition site.
This isn't just a mood, it's a full-on breakdown.
Linnea is screaming about everything, the lack of gardeners, the missing spring flowers, the general shabbiness of the house.
Her sense of inferiority is exploding. She's comparing her home to the other noble manors and finding it completely trashy, and she is making sure everyone suffers with her.
The other maids are literally cowering in fear.
Even the head housekeeper, Madame Bohen, has turned tail and fled. It's a total leadership vacuum until Edele steps up. She bravely volunteers to enter the danger zone and clean up the mess. Our girl has literal nerves of steel. Inside the trashed bedroom, Edele finds a broken girl weeping in the dark. The bratty lady act is gone, replaced by pure, raw pain. Linnea finally spills the tea about the psychological warfare she endured. It turns out high society doesn't use swords, they use hushed whispers and side-eyes to kill your soul. Linnea explains how the ladies made her feel like every insult was actually her own fault. It's the ultimate gaslighting move. The worst part? She couldn't even find the words to strike back. She was just a sitting duck for their cruelty, and it's honestly painful to hear. Edele offers a comforting touch, which is probably the first time anyone has actually held this girl. She suggests a warm bath to wash off the stress of the day. It's a 3-day event, and Edele knows Linnea needs to find her center before going back into the viper pit tomorrow. Linnea is ready to throw in the towel. She's asking why she has to subject herself to this humiliation just for a social calendar. She's done, she's cooked, and she wants out. But Edele isn't going to let her give up that easily. Edele points out the massive contradiction. If it hurts so much, why does she keep accepting every single invite?
She's forcing Linnea to face her own motivations, and the truth is finally coming out.
It's a classic "why are you hitting yourself" intervention. Here is the real kicker: Linnea is doing it all for her brother, Laslo. She is terrified that if she stops showing up, he will look like a social outcast and people will mock him even more. She is destroying herself just to protect the Mercenary King's reputation. Talk about sibling loyalty. Edele makes a bold promise: she is going to transform Linnea's social standing. She is going to teach her how to wipe the slate clean and clear her reputation. It's time for a Duchess-led makeover, and I am here for this redemption arc. While Edele is plotting a comeback, Camille Emerson and her cousin Angela are literally laughing about Linnea's ridiculous attempts to fit in.
They think her noble act is a joke, and that she is just a commoner playing with her brother's money.
The venom is real, people. Camille reveals her truly dark intentions. She only invited Linnea to act as a literal punching bag for the real aristocrat's entertainment. She views her as a pawn to be used and discarded.
It's a level of cruelty that makes my blood boil.
We end on a scene of hope in the middle of a disaster. Linnea is terrified she's making Laslo look bad, but Edele is standing right beside her. The battle for the drawing room is just getting started, and Edele is about to turn her maid status into the ultimate tactical advantage. Linnea arrives at the venue and she is repeating Edele's advice like a survival mantra. She's taking a deep breath and focusing solely on her own movements, determined to pretend everything is fine even while the crowd starts whispering. Fake it until you make it, girl. Success. She settles into her seat without a single incident.
You can practically feel her pride soaring as she realizes she's improved more in one day with Edele than in months with those expensive tutors.
The new money is finally showing some class. Following the instructions of the most elegant person she knows, Linnea decides to ignore the sneers. She's staying in her own lane and focusing on her composure. It's the ultimate power move, being so unbothered that the haters don't even exist to you. She's actually finding peace in being nonchalant.
She realizes that nodding gently and listening is way more effective than trying to talk too much and tripping over her words.
For the first time, she's actually tasting the tea instead of just drinking it. Talk about growth. Even with the looks of contempt still flying around, Linnea isn't crumbling. She's handling the pressure like a seasoned pro.
She's finally realized that she doesn't need to win everyone over. She just needs to not lose herself.
Just as she's about to make a graceful early exit, several high-ranking noble ladies approach her.
Linnea has a split second of internal panic, wondering if she's finally offended the elite.
Her heart is going batum, and the tension is real. To her absolute shock, it's not an attack, it's a compliment spree. The ladies are gushing over her dress and necklace, noting how the simple style perfectly suits her natural beauty. Camille Emerson is in the background looking like she just swallowed a lemon. The legends themselves, Madame Riccio and Dowager Lady Bringhen, step in. They point out that letting yourself shine is way better than wearing heavy, gaudy jewelry. They're basically calling out everyone else for being overdressed while praising Linnea's true refinement. The elder nobles give Linnea some boss advice: keep whoever helped you dress today very close.
They realize someone in the Krissus house has an elite eye for style.
If only they knew it was the fallen Duchess scrubbing the floors. When the champagne comes out, Linnea politely declines and announces her departure. She says she doesn't want to worry her brother, which is the perfect dutiful sister excuse. She's leaving them wanting more, which is the ultimate rule of social warfare. Viscountess Emerson is left completely stunned.
Linnea offers a cheerful farewell that is the polar opposite of the miserable girl she used to be.
The trap failed, and the Viscountess is fuming while everyone else whispers in admiration. The other guests are actually impressed. They're noting that Linnea's calm demeanor was the perfect counter to the Viscountess's habit of bullying the naive. Our girl just went from a social laughingstock to the it girl of the afternoon. Back in the carriage, Linnea is reflecting on her life.
She realizes her own tastes, which her former maid Marcia called tacky, were actually the ones the elite loved.
She's finally seeing through the lies she was told by the toxic household staff.
She realizes Edele was right all along. Playing to your strengths is the only way to win.
Having faith in the former Duchess was the best decision she ever made. The respect is finally real, and I am here for this duo. Late that night, Count Laslo summons Edele to his office. The place is a mess, but the mood is serious. He has a request that is about to change Edele's entire life at the manor.
He looks like he's been thinking about this all day.
Laslo doesn't beat around the bush. He knows nobody else is better suited for the job and asks Edele to become Linnea's official personal attendant. It's a massive promotion and a total vote of confidence from the Mercenary King himself. The siblings start their usual playful bickering, and it's honestly adorable. Laslo even threatens to not let things slide if Linnea causes trouble again.
Edele is watching them with a bittersweet smile, finally seeing the deep bond they share behind all the yelling.
Hearing Laslo call his sister Lynn hits Edele like a freight train.
It reminds her of her own little sister who shared the same name.
The grief is still there, but it's turning into a fierce new motivation to protect the girl standing in front of her. Resolved and ready, Edele accepts the position. She vows to stand by Linnea's side so she won't have any more regrets in this life. Our girl is going from maid to mentor, and the capital better get ready for the storm these two are about to brew. Edele is standing in the shadows, watching Laslo and Linnea act like actual, functional siblings. It is a total culture shock for her because they clearly love and depend on each other.
It reminds her of the bond she had with her late sister Lynn, back when they were the only two humans in a house full of vipers.
We get a grim flashback to Edele's own brothers. They were basically total strangers who only cared about leading the family. While they were off playing at war or politics, Edele and Lynn were just decorative objects waiting to be sold off to the highest bidder. Talk about a toxic household.
Edele's father was the absolute worst, cornering her and screaming about her being a selfish girl for not wanting to marry a man 3 times her age. He basically told her that her only purpose was to marry Duke Lancaster and make everyone else happy.
No wonder Edele is so comfortable in a quiet laundry room now.
Back in the present, Edele is officially done with the Lancaster and Canyon names. She is just Edele now, and her boss is rewarding her hustle. Laslo promotes her to be Linnea's personal attendant, gives her a room right next to his sister, and, the best part, a major raise. The awkward bickering between the Crixus siblings is honestly the highlight of the day. They're so worried about forcing Edele into the new job that they're practically tripping over themselves.
Edele's heart is doing Olympic-level gymnastics, as she realizes she finally has a place where she actually belongs.
Edele promises to do her very best, and even Laslo has to tell her to dial it back and just moderate herself. She is leaving her past behind like a bad dream. She is neither a duchess nor a victim anymore, she is just a woman protecting the happiness she found in the most unlikely place. The manor staff are all over this new development. They are gossiping about how beautiful Lady Linnea looked and how much her attitude has improved. Word on the street is that Edele is a miracle worker. Everyone is standing our girl except for the head housekeeper, who is currently fuming in the corner. Even the maids who were once cold are admitting they liked Edele from the start. The way she transformed Linnea's style is the talk of the estate. Edele is being humble, giving all the credit to Linnea, but we all know who the real MVP is. Laslo is caught in a total trance watching Edele get ready for the final day of the party. He tells her she looks like she's doing much better, and for a second, it feels like she is literally glistening. The ice count is definitely starting to melt, and it is honestly adorable to watch. Our socially awkward commander is trying to figure out how to thank her.
He's even thinking about buying a sofa for his office, just so she has somewhere comfortable to sit during their meetings.
He wants to show his appreciation for how she handled his clumsy sister, but Edele insists the promotion was enough. Laslo isn't taking no for an answer. He tries to press a reward into her hand, telling her it is nothing compared to what she has done for his family. The tension in the room is off the charts. Just as things are getting main character romantic, Linnea bursts in like a wrecking ball.
Linnea is screaming at the top of her lungs, but for once, it is because she is happy.
She's bragging that she didn't get humiliated at the party for the first time ever. She's showing off the dress Edele picked out, and honestly, the glow-up is legendary. Laslo's heart sinks when he hears his sister talk about her past humiliations.
He realizes he was so busy being a mercenary king that he left his little sister to be eaten alive by social vultures.
The guilt is hitting him like a physical blow, and he's looking at Edele like she's a literal godsend. He decided Edele deserves the world. He pulls out a blank check and tells her to go buy the most expensive jewelry and clothes in the capital. It's the ultimate sugar count move. But Edele just stares at it like it's a piece of trash.
Edele's reason for refusing is heartbreaking. She thinks she's a prisoner who isn't allowed to leave the manor.
She's been living like she's under house arrest this whole time.
Laslo is absolutely horrified that she thought he was her jailer instead of her employer.
The realization that she is a free employee with a salary hits Edele like a ton of bricks. She's not a slave, and she can walk out the front door whenever she wants. She feels like a total fool for the misunderstanding, and even Laslo starts laughing at how imperfect she actually is. Now that the air is clear, Edele decides she wants something much more valuable than a blank check.
She looks Laslo right in the eyes and asks for a favor. She wants him to promise that he will always trust her word and believe the truth she tells him.
This is some major ride or die energy. Laslo doesn't even hesitate. He promises to believe her no matter what. They just formed the most powerful alliance in the empire over a desk full of paperwork. Meanwhile, back in the dressing room, the snake in a maid's uniform Marcia is trying to sabotage Linnea's makeup again. Marcia tries to push that gaudy flower powder on Linnea, but our girl has been trained by a duchess. She fiercely rejects the makeup and throws the bottle to the floor, where it shatters into a million pieces. Linnea tells her to get out, and you can practically see Marcia's soul leaving her body. Marcia is standing in the hallway, and she is giving off major final boss energy. She's realizing she has lost her grip on the Krissus house, and she blames one person, Edele. She vows to survive this and destroy Edele Lancaster for interfering. The war for the manor has officially begun.
Just when you thought the drama was over for the night, The head housekeeper Marcia creeps into Linnea's room looking like a literal nightmare.
She is trying to play nice, dangling a jar of new flower powder and promising to make Linnea even prettier than Edele. But our girl is not falling for the trap anymore. She swiped that jar so fast it shattered into a million pieces right at Marcia's feet. Talk about a boss move. Linnea officially explodes, roasting Marcia for using cheap products just to turn her into a laughingstock. Marcia tries to play the innocent card and blame the other maids, but Linnea is not hearing it. She kicks her out and slams the door with enough force to wake the whole matter. Standing in the dark hallway, Marcia is absolutely seething, swearing that Edele Lancaster is going to pay for this. The war is officially on. Edele is packing her bags because she is officially moving into the main building.
Daisy is literally in tears, wailing that the main building is too far away.
She's devastated because no more hairbrushing sessions or midnight snacks. It is the most dramatic roommate breakup ever. Edele feels a wave of guilt for being the only one getting a glow up. But Daisy points out that even Mina has a nice room just because she is Madame Bohan's favorite. Our girl is realizing that this house doesn't run on merit, it runs on bribes and brown-nosing. The tea is officially spilled. Daisy reveals that the housekeeper assigns the best rooms to whoever pays the biggest tributes. Edele is taking mental notes of all this corruption. She's gathering evidence like a pro, realizing Bohan has been running a literal mafia under Laslo's nose.
To cheer Daisy up, Edele suggests a weekend trip to the Avenue of Artists. They're planning to find cute decorations for the new room and actually enjoy some freedom.
It's a rare moment of bestie peace, but in this manhwa, peace never lasts more than 5 minutes. Boom. Chaos enters the chat.
Lady Linnea realizes her favorite pearl hairpin is missing from her jewelry box.
She's frantic, checking every corner while Edele tries to keep her calm. You just know someone didn't just lose it, this is a setup. It gets worse.
They realize several other gold necklaces and earrings are gone too.
Linnea is absolutely enraged by the betrayal in her own home.
She orders the entire staff to gather immediately. The Mercenary King's sister is finally showing some of that family fire. Linnea demands a full search of every maid's room. She's specifically looking at the 3 maids who clean her room, but Edele insists on being searched too.
She's making sure everything is fair so nobody can scream special treatment later.
Edele whispers some wisdom to Linnea. The thief has probably sold the items already.
But she encourages her to keep the search going to find the guilty party.
She's guiding the young lady through her first real house crisis with total Duchess-level composure. Enter Madame Bohan with a performance that deserves an Oscar. She claims she found the stolen jewelry hidden in the room of Edele's besties. She's pointing the finger at Salia, Daisy, and Layla like she just solved the crime of the century. The accused maids are absolutely devastated. They rightfully point out that as low-ranking laundry maids, they aren't even allowed to enter Linnea's private wing. The logic is failing, but Bohan is doubling down on the drama. Now the trap is closing on Edele. Bohan suggests that Edele used her high rank to steal the jewels and hide them in her friend's room.
She is trying to paint Edele as the mastermind of a jewelry theft ring.
The audacity of this woman is actually breathtaking. To everyone's shock, Linnea doesn't bite. She refuses to be manipulated by the housekeeper screeching. She orders everyone back to work, saying she needs to consider the matter with a clear head. Linnea is finally growing a spine, and I am loving it. Madame Bohan and Marcia are seething in the hallways. They failed to get Edele arrested, but they're hoping the special treatment will turn the other staff against her. They are still playing their petty games, not realizing that the fallen Duchess is 3 steps ahead. In private, Linnea is dying to know how Edele stayed so calm. She asks if Edele actually has a way to prove their innocence. You can see the trust building between them. It's no longer lady and maid, they are actual allies now. Edele makes a powerful promise: she won't let Linnea's faith in her go to waste. She is ready to fight for her friends and her reputation. She's channeling all that past trauma into a cold, hard resolve to destroy the snakes in this house. The atmosphere shifts as Count Laslo returns home.
He's walking into a manor on the brink of civil war, and you just know he's not going to be happy about his favorites being bullied.
The Mercenary King is back, and the trial is about to get real. Linnea is still curious about Edele's past life.
She asks if elegant ladies are taught not to scream when the table turns against them. Edele just gives a bittersweet smile, realizing she's just an imperfect person trying to survive.
The chapter ends with a major standoff looming. Laslo is home, the jewelry is missing, and the staff is divided.
Edele is standing tall, ready to unveil the truth.
The battle for the Crixus estate has officially reached a boiling point. Edele is standing in front of Count Laslo and she is not backing down. She tells him straight up that the head housekeeper's accusation is weaker than a wet paper towel. Just because the jewelry was in her friend's room doesn't mean a thing, and honestly, the housekeeper hasn't even tried to prove her own innocence. Remember that promise of trust? Edele is cashing it in right now. Laslo is all in, trusting her innocence from the jump because he knows she's not a thief. But Edele hits him with a plot twist. She's not even talking about the jewelry. She's been playing 4D chess this whole time. For the past 3 months, Edele has been a secret accountant. She hands over files documenting every single fact she witnessed, from embezzled vegetable money to illegal introduction fees for the ladies' dresses. She's asking Laslo to launch an official investigation in his name. Our girl is coming for Marcia's whole career. Laslo asks if this is payback for the frame job.
Edele explains that Marcia is spiraling because she lost her mind control grip over Lady Linnea.
The theft was a calculated move to get rid of the only maids who were actually nice to Edele. It's a total villain move and the Count is finally seeing the red flags. The servant mafia logic is finally exposed.
Edele reveals she was assigned the most brutal, soul-crushing labor because she refused to join Marcia's clique or pay the tribute.
It's a toxic workplace nightmare and Edele is done being the punching bag for a corrupt head maid. Even while dropping the hammer, Edele is having an internal crisis.
She's wondering if a man like Laslo Krissus could ever truly believe someone like her. A woman abandoned by her own family and a fallen house.
Her heart is going baitum because she knows her entire future depends on this one man's trust. Laslo takes a deep sigh and actually takes the blame. He admits he neglected the manor and blindly trusted Marcia just because she was experienced. He is looking at the embezzlement evidence and he is absolutely seething. The Mercenary King is officially awake. He reaffirms his promise to Edele. He knows she isn't the type to lie or get greedy over nothing.
He's realized his own mistakes and Edele is the one who helped him see them.
It's a rare moment of vulnerability from our cold commander, and the respect is finally mutual. Edele is looking like a literal angel surrounded by roses, while the Count is looking more intense than ever. He asks her if she knew what she was getting into when she came to him. The tension in the air is electric, and you can tell the next 5 minutes are going to change the estate forever. Chaos erupts in the courtyard.
Maids are being dragged away, screaming that they were just following orders.
Marcia Bohen is finally cornered, and the Nixkins' energy is hitting peak levels of drama as the guilty staff members flail and beg for their lives. Marcia hits the floor with a thud. Laslo demands a confession for the embezzlement, but the woman is still shouting that it's all nonsense. She is trying to play the victim even with spears pointed at her chest. The audacity is actually legendary. Game over. Nathan reveals that the other staff members have already confessed everything. He produces Marcia's secret ledger, proving she bought the cheapest produce while billing for premium goods and pocketing 30% of the difference. She even meddled with Linnea's cosmetic funds. The math is looking grim for Marcia. The total embezzlement adds up to a staggering 250,000 lington. She starts yelling about how hard she worked for the last 3 years, but everyone can see her for the snake she really is. She's stumbling over her own lies now. The staff is whispering in disgust, who would forgive someone who stole enough money to buy a whole house? Laslo gives her 2 cold options: face the police and get 30 lashings, or sign a loan agreement to repay 400,000 lington. It's a death sentence either way. Marcia is horrified by the extra 150k, but Laslo tells her that's the cost of her life and compensation for the trouble. She collapses on the ground as the choice is officially in her hands. Justice is finally served, and it's looking cold and sharp like a mercenary's blade.
Salia and Daisy are embracing in tears.
Their names are finally clear and they don't have to worry about being called thieves anymore. The laundry squad survived the frame job, and the wholesome energy in this scene is a complete 180 from the courtyard execution vibes. Now there's a new problem: the head housekeeper position is vacant.
Everyone is wondering how they ever lived with a monster like Marcia.
Laslo smirks and looks at the woman who actually uncovered the crimes.
I think we all know where this is going.
Boom. Plot twist of the century. Laslo announces that from now on, Edele will be the new head housekeeper. The former Duchess is now officially in charge of the entire staff. Talk about a promotion that has everyone dropping their jaws. Laslo isn't playing around. He warns the staff that if anyone plans on disobeying Edele or has a problem with her, they should speak up now so he can write them a recommendation and show them the door. He's giving Edele his full imperial level backing.
The guilty staff members are dashing out before their heads roll, while the remaining maids discover Marcia was keeping the nicest rooms empty as storage out of pure spite.
The innocent staff is finally filling the vacancies, and everyone is gearing up to help Edele reorganize the manor. The mansion is chaotic, but the vibe is hopeful. The maids are murmuring that having Edele as the new boss isn't bad at all. They're realizing that hiring from the outside wouldn't guarantee a good leader anyway. Edele has already won their loyalty. As night falls, Edele is finally settling into her new role. But the chapter ends on one last mystery: there's a clack and a flutter at the door. Someone is dropping by late at night for a secret conversation. Is it a friend, a new enemy, or the Count coming for another office chat? The aftermath of the audit is brutal. Laslo's mercenaries went on a literal scavenger hunt through Marcia's vendors and found the secret double ledger. Turns out the broke embezzlement queen failed to keep a straight account of anything. She wasn't just stealing, she was doing it with zero professional pride. Edele is looking at these messy accounts and getting a literal migraine.
She realizes the estate has been neglected for years and decides it is easier to just start everything from scratch.
Since she used to run a whole duchy, this is basically beginner-level math for her, but man, the corruption is deep.
Our girl is already planning the manor's restructuring and thinking they desperately need a butler to keep things professional.
She is reflecting on how much her circle has grown since her Duchess days, but then, knock knock. Who is stopping by at this ungodly hour for some paperwork and chill?
Edele is walking toward the door, thinking about how far she has come, but she gets a surprise at the entrance.
It is Count Laslo standing there looking as intense as ever. The first thing he does is lecture her about being more cautious with who she lets in late at night. Calm down, Dad, she's got this. The Count apologizes for the late visit and asks to come in for a minute. The atmosphere is thick with that ML and FL in a small room energy. He is standing there looking all brooding, and you just know he is not here for the budget reports. Edele feels bad that she has nothing to offer him, but Laslo isn't hungry for snacks. He is here to drop some major praise.
He reveals that Nia is finally happy and the party invites are flooding in thanks to Edele.
The Mercenary King is actually admitting he was clueless about his own sister's pain. Nia is beaming in these flashbacks, looking naturally bright for once. Laslo is repeating himself because he is just that impressed.
He realizes that a total stranger did more for his family in 2 months than he did in 3 years.
Talk about a massive blow to the big brother ego. Laslo is looking at Edele with those golden eyes, admitting he was completely clueless. He is humbled, guys. He's thanking her 100 times and it still feels like it's not enough. He even says he is looking forward to working with her not just as a count, but personally too. Is that a confession I hear? He's noticed that Edele is doing much better than before, and he's feeling a little less guilty about sending her to the Celestines. Edele is glistening under his gaze, and she tells him she doesn't hate or resent him. She knows he was just doing his job as a spoils of war collector. Edele is being way too rational, claiming it was unfair of the Majesty to give her away as a trophy. She is basically roasting her own situation. But Laslo stops her dead in her tracks with a look that could melt iron. He is about to say something that will change the whole vibe of this late-night meet. Here it is. Laslo drops the line, the emperor gave him the most precious person he could ask for. Edele is absolutely shook, staring at him in total silence. The Nixkin's energy is hitting 100% right now as our cold mercenary king basically accidentally confessed his feelings.
Naturally, Laslo panics and starts stuttering, trying to clarify that he meant she was the highest-ranking prisoner.
Bro, nice save, but the blush on your face says otherwise. Edele just thanks him, probably dying inside from the awkwardness of it all.
Edele reflects on the grim truth. No one thought the wife of a traitor would survive the war.
If Laslo hadn't taken her in as a maid, she would have been cooked.
She is finally realizing that this manor wasn't her prison. It was her literal life raft in a sea of imperial blood.
Sensing the darkness in her thoughts, Laslo tells her that things will surely get better one day. He makes her promise never to think about ending it all ever again.
He is basically becoming her emotional anchor, and Edele is starting to crack under all this unexpected compassion. One day, she whispers as the first tear falls.
Laslo tells her not to cry and reminds her to keep hiding her true self just like she always has. He is terrified that if she shows weakness, she will break completely, but honestly, the girl needs a good cry.
The emotional dam finally breaks. Edele is sobbing, admitting that all she ever wanted was a normal life. No more high-stakes politics, no more spoils of war nonsense. She is weeping for everything she lost and everything she never had. Laslo doesn't back away.
He reaches out and tells her it is okay to cry more.
He acknowledges that trying to be normal must have been the hardest task she ever faced.
He is giving her the permission to just be human for once, and I am not crying, you are.
He hands her a handkerchief with such warm compassion that it hits her harder than any insult.
Edele realizes he's seen her at her absolute lowest countless times. So what difference does one more breakdown make?
She is finally feeling safe enough to let the world see her scars. Edele's dream of a normal life is so simple it's heartbreaking. Just an average family, typical romance, and real friends. Things that were always out of reach for a duchess. She clutches that handkerchief and plans to wash and return it tomorrow, marking her first step into a new life. Morning comes and the birds are chirping for a new era. Edele wakes up feeling refreshed after sleeping like a baby. She is hungry and ready to take care of business. She is reassigning staff tasks based on their preferences, which is a total fair boss move. Edele is the new head housekeeper and she is not wasting time.
She reassigns everyone, telling them to think of this as a new beginning.
The staff is beaming, shouting yes, ma'am, with actual joy.
The manor is finally feeling like a home instead of a labor camp.
Lady Linnea takes the stage and the gasp in the room is audible.
She admits it was her responsibility to maintain the house and apologizes for the pressure. She even says she is sorry for making things hard for them while Marcia was manipulating her. Linnea's goal is now to run the Crixus estate with honor and dignity. She specifically apologizes to the 3 maids who were falsely accused, promising that Edele will be there to support them.
The staff is in tears again, but this time it is from gratitude.
The manor is stabilized, so it is time for a day off. Edele and Daisy head to a popular shopping district. Edele wants to focus on having fun and buying clothes for her off-duty time. But just as she is feeling free, a click and a voice shatter the peace. Someone from the crowd calls out, "Oh my, Edele Canyon?" Edele stops dead in her tracks as her old family name is shouted in public. A lady with a parasol recognizes her, and the chapter ends on a massive cliffhanger. Is her normal life over before it even began? The drama is officially back on.
Edele is just trying to enjoy her day off when she gets jumped by Lady Lucille Arton.
This woman is out here loudly shouting Edele's name like she just spotted a celebrity criminal, alerting every hater in the vicinity. The Nixkin's energy is already peaking as the judgmental murmurs start to flood the street. The atmosphere turns toxic fast. People are whispering about why a criminal is allowed to walk around freely. They're actually accusing her of stealing the nice clothes she's wearing and mocking her for living as a maid. Imagine having to explain your outfit to a crowd of social vultures. The gossipers are relentless, claiming she should have died with honor instead of serving a mercenary. They're even bringing up the fired knights like it's her fault they were trash. Edele is standing there like a statue of grace, taking the verbal damage while her poor friend Daisy looks ready to faint from the stress. Edele finally speaks up and she is cold as ice. She tells them straight up that she has permission from Count Krissus to be outside. She even dares them to take their complaints to the emperor himself. She's basically saying, "I'm protected by the throne, what are you gonna do about it?"
Our girl knows these people are just like Marcia, they just want to see others cry.
She is determined not to let their words get to her. She tries to bow and leave with some dignity, but the noblewomen aren't done playing with their food yet. The insults get personal. They ask if she's become the mercenary's mistress to earn her confidence. They're mocking her marriage to the old geezer and calling Laslo a lowly bastard. Edele can handle the hate directed at her, but insulting the count is crossing a serious line. The tension is high enough to snap a bridge when suddenly, a shadow looms behind Edele. It is Count Laslo Krissus himself. He's overheard everything, including the part where they called him a mistress collector. The look in his eyes says someone is about to get a very public reality check. The noble ladies are jolted by his arrival. They were so busy being bullies they didn't even notice the man they were insulting was standing right there. Laslo is looking like a walking nightmare in black, and you can practically hear the war drums starting to beat. Let's jump back a few hours to see how we got here. Laslo and Linnea were actually having a great sibling day, munching on street food.
Linnea thinks no expensive meal beats the taste of street snacks.
It's a rare moment of new money being unpretentious and actually cute. Linnea gets curious and asks how a child like Laslo was able to take care of an even smaller child back then. Laslo is dodgy, saying he just worked extremely hard. He's trying to stay tough, but you can see the shadow of the past passing through his golden eyes. Poor Linnea barely remembers their parents or the house they grew up in. She was only 5 years old when their world burned down. She is teary-eyed, begging her big brother to tell her more about their childhood. The sibling bond in this series is actually top tier. Flashback time.
Laslo remembers a peaceful and happy home, just an ordinary house you'd see anywhere.
But that fragile normalcy was destroyed in the blink of an eye.
We see the fire, the screaming, and a young Laslo running for his life.
Little Laslo is panting, carrying a sobbing Linnea on his back through the night. He is telling her he will keep her safe and never let go of her hand.
They have nowhere to go and his body is screaming in pain, but he is not stopping for anything.
They've been on the run for days, hiding in the shadows and shivering from the cold. Laslo is looking for any place where they could be safe. He is just a kid himself, but he's already carrying the weight of the whole world on his tiny shoulders. Suddenly, an old lady approaches them. She's the same one who gave them a meat pie a few days ago. She offers them shelter and food at her house with 2 old souls. Laslo's instincts tell him he can finally trust someone. Laslo accepts the offer, promising to repay her somehow. The lady is just a saint, telling him he doesn't have to say such things. She asks for their names, and Laslo makes a choice that will define his entire life. He is abandoning his past. He introduces his sister as Linnea and himself as just Laslo. He doesn't need a name or a past, he's going to make a new home. This is the origin story of the Mercenary King, and it is born from pure survival instinct. While the old couple looked after Linnea, Laslo went to work. He ran errands for mercenaries and naturally picked up the sword.
He admits they were quite happy there, and he wishes he could have repaid them if they had lived longer.
The trauma of being orphaned is still so raw. Linnea is touched, remembering the meat pies and how warm Grandma and Grandpa were. Laslo pats her head, basically asking if that's enough of an answer for her curiosity.
They're a family of 2 against the world, and they're finally starting to look toward a wonderful future.
Returning to the present, they're crossing a bridge when they spot the commotion. They witness the high-born vultures surrounding Edele and Daisy. Laslo overhears the mistress' comments and you can see his fury starting to flare up. Laslo steps in with maximum boss energy. Linnea is also hissing with anger, unable to believe how they dare speak to Edele like that. Laslo is glaring at the crowd, ready to take them all on for the sake of his staff member. Laslo is in total protective mode now. He asks the noble women to explain their rumors about him having a mistress. The women are flinching and stuttering, trying to claim it was just rumors. Our Mercenary King is basically shredding their dignity in the middle of the street. With a legendary mic drop, Laslo declares Edele is a respected member of his house. He demands a formal apology for their vulgar words used against both him and his maid. The highborn snobs have officially met their match, and it's a guy with a very big sword. Laslo is not playing games today. He stands firm against those toxic noblewomen, demanding a formal apology for the vulgar words they spat at him and Edele.
He's out here reminding everyone that he is the Emperor's right-hand man, and making baseless accusations against him is a one-way ticket to a very scary investigation.
The mean girls of the capital are officially shook.
As soon as they realize Laslo is actually going to use his power, Lucille and her squad hit the deck with a deep bow.
They're begging for forgiveness like their lives depend on it, and honestly, the cowardice is actually embarrassing to watch. Laslo accepts the apology but makes it clear he can't speak for Edele. Edele, being the Queen of Grace, accepts it just to end the drama.
Meanwhile, the surrounding commoners are having a field day, mocking the blue bloods for being so quick to grovel.
The social hierarchy just took a massive L. Meet Marco, the Crixus family's loyal coachman and, surprise, Daisy's dad. He's been watching the whole showdown from the sidelines. Laslo checks in on Edele and finds out she and Daisy were just trying to get a quick portrait done. It's a rare moment of domestic peace after a major street fight. Linnea gets a major case of FOMO and insists on getting a portrait with her brother right now. She admits she's scared of losing him to one of his many battles and wants a way to remember his face. It's a rare, heart-wrenching moment of sibling love that has our big scary mercenary feeling all the guilt. Poor Daisy. Her relaxing day off has been officially hijacked by her terrifying employers. She's stuck trailing after the Count and his sister like a lost puppy. It's the ultimate work call on a weekend nightmare, but at least she gets to see the Count look awkward in a studio. The group hits up a trendy pastel portrait studio. Traditional oil paintings are so last season, everyone who's anyone is getting these quick, colorful sketches now.
Linnea is already acting like the creative director of the family image, and she is not happy with Laslo's look.
Linnea is roasting Laslo's unkempt beard, claiming it's going to ruin the whole vibe of the portrait. She's demanding he tidy up and actually look like a count for once.
Watching this battle-hardened warrior get bullied by his little sister over grooming is the comedic relief we all deserved.
While the artists get to work, Edele gets lost in some dark thoughts. She realizes she doesn't have a single portrait of herself because she was always excluded from the family gallery. Her father probably thought paint was too expensive to waste on a daughter he was planning to sell anyway.
Here is the real heartbreak. Edele laments that the only images she had of her late sister Lynn were lost when the Lancaster house burned down. She's lost her past twice over. She's longing for a normal life where memories aren't just ash and shadows. The head painter is absolutely captivated by Edele.
He thinks she has the kind of beauty that could make her a star, and tries to recruit her into a theater troupe.
He's promising her fame and fortune on the stage, but Edele just gives him a polite no thanks. For the first time in forever, Edele feels a sense of true peace.
She realizes she's actually content with her current life as a housekeeper.
She doesn't need the spotlight, she just needs safety and the friends she's made. It's a major character growth moment. Laslo steps in and shuts down the talent scout, then does something incredibly generous. He pays for a special portrait of Marco and Daisy. It's a reward for Marco's years of loyalty, and you can see Daisy's eyes lighting up. Our Count is low-key the best boss in the Empire. But wait, there is more. Laslo commissions a solo portrait of Edele. He claims he wants to send it to Marchioness Barbara as a status update so she knows Edele is doing well.
It's a thoughtful move that hits Edele right in the feels.
Edele is deeply moved, realizing Laslo is helping her rebuild her connection with the only mother figure she has left. The ice count is definitely melting into a puddle of care and consideration. The way he looks at her while she's being painted is pure main character energy. The portrait session is finished and the group heads back to the carriage. Laslo is holding Edele's portrait and, get this, he's actually hesitant to give it away. He's staring at the image of her and you can tell he wants to keep it for himself. The simp levels are reaching critical mass. As they drive home, Laslo is fighting his internal battle over a piece of paper. He's never been this conflicted about a mission before. Meanwhile, the holiday is coming to an end and it's time for the manor to get back to business. The next morning, the new employees arrive at the manor. It's a fresh start for the household staff under Edele's leadership. The corrupt old system is officially dead, and the new era of the Crixus estate has finally begun. Edele steps fully into her role as head housekeeper. She's beginning the massive task of purging the remnants of Marcia's corruption. She's organizing, cleaning, and setting new standards. Our girl is finally in charge, and she is making room for a much brighter future.
Edele reflects on how she thought she was already happy, but now she's hoping for an even better life.
Today has been wonderful, and she's looking forward to what comes next.
The Duchess in ruins is officially rising from the ashes. Laslo offers Edele and Daisy a ride back in the carriage, but they politely decline because they still have errands. He respects their free time and heads home with Linnea. The respect between employer and employee is at an all-time high. The day wraps up with Edele and Daisy heading back to the stores. It was an unexpectedly long day, but a successful one.
Edele is happy with her portrait of Linnea and her gift for the loyal Marco.
Laslo is caught in a total trance, staring at Edele's portrait in the carriage like his life depends on it. He's supposed to send it to the Marchioness as a status update, but the guy is having a total internal meltdown because he doesn't want to let go of the painting. He's telling himself it's a surprise for Barbara, but we all know he just wants to keep Edele's face in his office. Simp behavior at its finest. The holiday is officially over and the new squad has arrived at the manor. Edele is stepping into her head housekeeper boots and she is not playing. She is purging the old, corrupt vibes and making the manor actually livable for once. The staff is lining up and giving her the ultimate respect, shouting yes, head housekeeper, like she is the queen herself. The Crixus estate is finally under new management, and I am here for this boss girl era.
We are starting with the ultimate panic.
Lady Linnea is literally grabbing Edele's hands and begging her to take responsibility for her brother.
Apparently, the social scene thinks Count Laslo is a terrifying beast, and Linnea is convinced Edele is the only one who can fix his vibe, so he can actually get married.
Backing up to the start of Edele's new reign as head maid. With her workload increasing, she needs to hire a new personal maid for Linnea. Celia and Lila are the OGs, but they decline the promotion because they're too busy babysitting the new staff. At least they're being supportive. Edele doesn't have to look far for a replacement. She selects Daisy as the perfect fit. Daisy is sweet, kind, and exactly the kind of influence Linnea needs to stop acting like a spoiled brat. It is the dream team we never knew we needed. First order of business, an extreme home makeover. Edele and the crew are sorting through years of accumulated junk to decide what is worth keeping and what needs to be sold.
It is basically a manor-sized garage sale, and Edele is making sure they don't lose a single cent.
Daisy is nervous about her new responsibilities, but Edele is giving her the ultimate pep talk. She knows Daisy will do just fine because her kindness is going to help shape Linnea's character. It is all about those positive influences across class lines, people. Fashion time. Edele is helping Linnea pick out dresses that actually look elegant instead of gaudy. They're ordering everything from outing outfits to evening gowns. Linnea is finally trusting Edele's eye for style, and honestly, the glow-up is going to be legendary. A tailor from the Dunamis atelier arrives and she is giving off major, shady merchant vibes. She's taking measurements and showing off a catalog, but Edele is watching her like a hawk. You just know this lady is about to try and pull a fast one. The tailor starts pushing these trendy designs on Linnea.
Edele realizes this woman is just trying to offload her stubborn, unsold inventory on the naive new nobles.
It is a classic scam, but unfortunately for the tailor, Edele knows every trick in the book. Linnea is actually paying attention. She rejects the pushy trendy designs and sticks to the elegant one they agreed on earlier. She even throws some shade back, asking the tailor if she's disappointed that she's not buying more. Our girl is finally developing a spine. The tailor is flustered and quickly moves on to measurements. Edele is internally beaming with pride. She sees Linnea regaining her lost confidence step by step, learning to choose quality people and quality dresses. Edele is determined to teach Linnea everything she needs to know to live with grace. She's taking it slow, but the results are already showing. The Crixus family is finally starting to look like actual nobility. Time to settle the bill. Edele hands over the money from the second-hand trades. They manage to pull off a successful trade-in, and the merchant is impressed by the price they got. Edele is proving she's just as good at finance as she is at laundry. Linnea does something super sweet and gives a gift to a servant who works hard.
She realizes that a lady's reputation is built on how she treats people, not just her title.
The new money is finally showing some old money heart. Edele notes that the merchant they traded with is a well-known source of info. By treating her well, Linnea's reputation is going to skyrocket in the capital. It is all strategic, baby. Another precious thing enters Edele's life. Her own room is finally starting to feel like a sanctuary. It's filled with letters and gifts from her new squad. After years of being excluded from her own family history, she finally has a space that belongs to her. Edele starts her diary era. She wants to record all the new memories she's making in this mansion instead of just tracking schedules and finances. It is a fresh start and a way to heal from her traumatic past. She's jotting down notes about the ointment Daisy gave her and the kindness of the young lady. Her wounds are healing in more ways than one. It's a peaceful moment of reflection until BAM. Linnea bursts into the room without even knocking. She is in a total rush and looks frantic. Edele is worried that something disastrous happened at the tea party, but Linnea is here for a much weirder reason. Here it is, please take responsibility for my brother. Edele is just standing there like, excuse me? Linnea is desperate and it is honestly hilarious to see her this worked up over her brother's lack of a love life. We flash back to the party at the Bringen estate. Linnea met Lady Bringen's granddaughter, Jeremiah. For once, there was no sarcasm or bullying, just a real, honest conversation. Linnea is so relieved to find a real friend. They're gossiping about parties and brothers, and it turns out Count Laslo has a reputation for being scary and hard to approach. Jeremiah asks if Laslo dislikes parties because she's never seen him at one. Linnea admits he's just super busy as the captain of the Imperial Guard. But the real tea is that his free-spirited nature makes him a suitor nightmare.
Linnea realizes the truth is found in unguarded moments. If Laslo keeps acting like a rugged mercenary, he's going to end up alone.
She's determined to change his stubbornness, and she thinks Edele is the secret weapon.
Early morning chaos at the Crixus manor. Lady Linnea is out here barging into her brother's room with Edele in tow, demanding he wake up and face the music. Laslo is looking like he just crawled out of a trench, and Linnea is not having it. Linnea doesn't hold back. She looks at her brother and bluntly tells him she can't even tell if he's a nobleman or a thief. She's comparing him to a tired countryside noble who just wandered into the capital, and honestly, the shade is legendary. Here is the real tea. Linnea spills the gossip she heard at the party. High society views Count Krissus as an unmarriageable man who lacks every ounce of social grace.
They think he's just a rugged commoner playing dress-up, and Linnea is terrified she'll never find a suitor because of him.
Laslo tries to act unbothered, claiming it's fine as long as they still call him a nobleman. But Linnea is fuming. She warns him that his messy image is dragging her down with him.
She's desperate, and Laslo is starting to feel the heat of the little sister rage.
Feeling totally cornered, Laslo turns to the one person whose opinion actually matters to him, Edele. He's silently pleading for her to take his side, but Edele is caught between her boss and her friend. The tension in the room is high enough to snap a sword.
Linnea encourages Edele to be 100% honest.
Edele finally drops the polite maid act and lets it rip. She admits that his current style is a total disaster and he needs a major overhaul if he wants anyone to take him seriously as a count. Edele points out the most embarrassing part: he's wearing training boots with noble attire. It's a fashion crime of the highest order. She insists on a haircut, a shave, and proper skin treatments. She's basically telling the Mercenary King he needs a full day at the spa. Laslo is initially taken aback by her harshness. He's never been roasted this hard in his life.
But he realizes she's right.
He appreciates her honesty and finally agrees to the physical transformation. The Ice Count is officially surrendering to the power of a haircut. Edele takes charge immediately. This isn't just grooming, it's a mission. She's managing the whole process with military precision, viewing it as her duty to restore the house's image. She's no longer just a maid, she's the creative director of Operation Glow Up. As the haircut begins, our big scary commander is looking a bit self-conscious. He feels like a child being watched, and he's fidgeting in the chair. Edele is standing right there, giving the barber specific instructions to highlight his eyes and jawline. Next up, the beard. They're shaving off years of rugged mercenary life. As the thick hair falls away, a refined and handsome face is finally revealed. Everyone in the room is holding their breath because the transformation is absolutely insane. Edele is internally stunned. She knew he was a good-looking man, but without the beard and the messy hair, he's a total 10/10.
She's realized that her boss isn't just attractive. He's probably the most handsome man in the entire empire.
Linnea is absolutely overjoyed.
She's practically doing a victory dance, predicting that Laslo is about to be buried under marriage proposals. She's already planning his wedding in her head while Laslo just looks confused by all the attention. Edele isn't done yet. She suggests they move on to professional skin treatments to polish his new look. She wants him to look like the high-ranking noble he actually is. Laslo is just going along with it at this point, probably because he can't say no to Edele's determined face. Enter a visitor. Nathan is back and he is shocked by the sudden glow-up. He starts mocking the stubborn warrior, laughing about how he finally started caring about his looks. He knows Laslo didn't do this for himself, he did it because Edele told him to. Nathan is relentless, asking who made him like this. He guesses there must be someone Laslo wants to look good for.
Laslo just screams at him to shut up and claims he did it for Linnea.
But we all know the truth, and Nathan's smirk says he knows it too.
Laslo admits that the time for change has come. He can't ignore his sister's concerns anymore if they want a real future in high society. He's accepting his role as a count for real now, not just as a title given by the emperor. Edele enters the office to discuss buying new menswear and accessories to match his new face. Laslo treats her with such warmth and trust that even the knowing guest Nathan is caught off guard. The atmosphere is no longer master and maid, it's something much deeper.
Nathan is watching from the sidelines, and he sees the rare, genuine smile on Laslo's face.
He realizes that Edele's influence is the only reason the Ice Count is finally opening up.
The Mercenary King has been tamed, and it didn't take a sword, it took a pair of scissors and a barber's chair. The chapter ends with Laslo finally feeling confident in his new skin. He's ready to face the vultures of the capital. With Edele by his side, the House of Crixus is about to become the most talked about name in the empire. Lady Linnea is on a mission. She is enthusiastically telling her brother they must plant a forest of roses to make their garden as gorgeous as the ones they've seen at parties. She wants the Crixus manor to be just as splendid as any old money estate, and she is starting with the landscaping. Count Laslo agrees to hire a gardener, but he's clearly overwhelmed. He's juggling household drama and Imperial Guard training that is going nowhere fast.
He's out here thinking they need a butler and some better intelligence gathering before they even think about roses.
Laslo is low-key roasting his own Imperial knights. He wishes they were half as diligent as Edele. He sees them as pampered young lords with zero willpower, especially compared to his tenacious Calliope mercenaries. He's stressing about how to close that gap while his sister is talking about flowers. Linnea snaps him back to reality. She tells him he can't be spacing out once they arrive at the party. They've put in way too much work on his glow-up for him to act like a distracted soldier. It's game time, and she needs him to be the Mercenary King in a suit. We flash back to Edele giving some solid advice a few days ago.
She was the one who encouraged the Count to attend this garden party as his grand debut.
She knew Linnea was desperate to show everyone how much he's changed. Edele drops some heavy logic. Laslo needs to see the cruelty of the nobility with his own eyes. He needs to see exactly what Linnea has been facing all alone. It's the ultimate undercover boss mission, and Laslo is realizing he can't protect what's precious if he stays ignorant. Edele even suggests that he should be the one to escort Linnea. It's the perfect stage for his debut. Laslo is taking this all in, realizing that leading an ordinary life is actually the hardest thing they've ever had to do. Meanwhile, at the party, the villains are already plotting. Angela and Camille are gossiping with Angela's cousin, Enoch Bliss. They're falsely claiming Linnea is a mannerless commoner who looks down on them. The level of gaslighting is actually off the charts. Enoch decides to teach Linnea a lesson for her supposed arrogance. He assumes she'll come alone and plans to find her a suitable partner. He's basically trying to set a social trap before she even steps out of the carriage. The plot gets darker. Enoch mentions a guy with grabby hands who is looking for a young woman.
He thinks setting Linnea up with a predator is a good thing for her.
These people are literal monsters in expensive dresses. The villain's laughter is cut short when the crowd starts buzzing. Who is that man standing next to Linnea Krissus? Laslo has arrived, and his grand entrance is so epic it basically stops the music. He looks like a completely different person. Angela and Camille are stunned.
Angela realized her partner trap is officially ruined because Linnea brought the most handsome man at the party.
They don't even recognize him at first because his hair is cut and his beard is gone. Word spreads like wildfire, it's Count Laslo Krissus. Even the people in the Imperial Guard are flabbergasted. The Mercenary King just became the boy of the garden party, and the villains are realizing they might have picked the wrong family to bully. Linnea is beaming. She sees everyone's surprised reactions and feels like she finally has the upper hand. She is clutching her brother's arm and looking like she owns the garden. The new money is finally flexing some real social power. Angela and Camille are scrambling.
Camille thinks Linnea is trying to put them in their place, but Angela decides they should greet them first.
It is the ultimate survival tactic. If you can't beat them, act like you were friends all along. Enoch Bliss is terrified. He doesn't want to greet the beast and quickly retreats, leaving his cousin and Camille to do the dirty work. He's literally running away to tend to other guests. Talk about zero backbone.
Angela puts on her fake smile and approaches.
She asks if Linnea remembers her, and you can practically see the sweat through the Nixkin's watermark. She's desperately trying to keep the atmosphere from becoming even weirder. Linnea introduces her fine gentleman companion. Angela is all "Oh my, may I ask for an introduction?" She is acting like she's a fangirl, while Camille is in the back probably plotting a second-hand sabotage. This is my brother, Count Laslo Krissus. The name drop hits like a bomb. Laslo is standing there looking stone-cold and majestic, while Angela and Camille are trying to remember how to breathe. Angela tries to play it cool, asking if this is his first party. Laslo gives her the most "I don't care" answer ever. It just so happened to turn out that way. He is basically telling her he didn't come for her, he came because he felt like it. Angela offers to introduce them to her grandfather, Count Bliss. It's a major peace offering. But Linnea is feeling the pressure.
She realizes that even with her brother by her side, the atmosphere of high society is suffocating.
Laslo rejects the introduction and takes Linnea to meet the host themselves. Angela is impressed by his arrogance, while Camille is just offended.
The observers realize that the currents of high society are officially shifting.
The Crixus family is here to stay. The Emperor is having the laugh of his life. He's erupting in laughter because he heard Count Crixus showed up all dolled up, and seeing the rugged captain finally acting like a noble is pure gold.
Laslo is sitting there fuming, wondering if his new face was worth the mockery. Laslo admits his sister was the driving force, But he reveals the real mastermind, her personal maid Edele.
The Emperor immediately clocks that he's talking about Count Kenyon's daughter. He notes that no one can match her knowledge when it comes to the high society game.
The Emperor thinks Laslo is being sly for keeping such talent close.
He tells Laslo that while he may have been forced into the glow-up, it's a very good look for him.
Laslo maintains he didn't do it for others to enjoy, but the Emperor knows better. This is a political move.
This transformation is more than fashion, it's a public declaration of loyalty. The Emperor is thrilled because Laslo can no longer run from high society. He's officially blended into the world of nobility as a loyal subject, just as the throne intended. Because of this change, Laslo has instantly become the tempting groom of the year. Noble families have been waiting for this chance to form an alliance with the Emperor's favorite. Linnea is already being scouted by ladies who want to get to her brother. Laslo is sipping tea, reflecting on how he's always turned his back on society.
He realizes his new behavior signifies a massive shift.
He is choosing to step into the light, even though he knows the noble world is full of vipers. Laslo looks like a dazed chibi as he processes his new groom status. He admits he's never even considered marriage. The Emperor asks when he'll be ready, but Laslo just gives a disappointing answer, "If your majesty commands it."
Laslo admits he believes in fated love.
He has a surprisingly romantic side hidden under all that armor. The Emperor, calling himself the last romantic, hopes that such a person appears for Laslo too. The Emperor departs to spend time with his beloved wife, leaving Laslo in the silent office.
Laslo is left thinking about the Emperor's words on love.
It is a rare moment of quiet for the man who is usually surrounded by war and noise. Laslo reflects on the cynical reality of noble marriages.
He sees them as political acts built on lies, betrayal, and hypocrisy.
He wonders if he could ever allow himself to believe in true love, given everything he's seen.
Back at the manor, Linnea is pouting to Edele about the party. She's devastated that she couldn't dance with her brother because he has zero training.
She's blaming herself for not preparing him, but Edele reminds her there will be other chances.
Linnea reveals she spent the whole night pointing out her bullies to Laslo. Watching him look like he wanted to draw his sword on everyone who ignored her was the highlight of her night. She finally felt protected by her big scary brother. Our girl Linnea is officially in her confident era. She's no longer afraid of making mistakes because she knows she'll learn everything one by one with Edele. The bond between these three is becoming the ultimate shield for the Crixus name. Time to deal with the aftermath, the invitation pile. Families that wouldn't even look at Linnea before are now shamelessly sending letters. They all want a piece of the handsome count who has the Emperor's ear. Laslo is blushing because he can't get used to being called handsome. Edele tells him it's only natural now that his face is visible. She advises him not to refuse the invites but to use them to understand the noble house's intentions.
Edele drops a truth bomb. Marriage proposals are coming next.
She points out that a powerful family could provide the strength the House of Crixus needs. You can almost see her heart sinking as she talks about him marrying someone else. Laslo is still a rebel. He says he can handle the shaving, but he draws the line at skin care. He jokingly tells Edele that he'll only do the face packs if she is the one personally handling it. Be careful what you wish for, Count. The skincare session is pure fire. Edele is inches away from his face and noticing everything, his long dark lashes, the sparkle in his eyes, and a faint scar on his cheek. She's realizing just how hot her boss actually is. Suddenly, a pang of possessiveness hits her hard.
She realizes that once he starts attending social events, every other woman in the capital will notice these things too.
Edele is officially in her jealous Duchess era and she is not sharing.
Laslo is staring right at Edele, and our girl is so lost in thought that she almost forgets where she is.
The tension is real, and the way he's looking at her is enough to make anyone's heart do a backflip. Laslo is actually being observant for once. He notices her face is bright red and asks if she's catching another cold. He's leaning in close, showing that mercenary doctor side of his, and honestly, the close-up on his golden eyes is a 10 out of 10 moment.
Edele is internally screaming.
Her heart is pounding like a drum, and she is desperately trying to convince herself it's just overwork. She tells herself to get a grip because having feelings for the boss is definitely not in the job description. Time for business. Edele points out the legal headache of her current role. As head maid, she doesn't have the right to access the family's important info. That's a job for a butler. She's trying to be professional, but Laslo has a better idea brewing.
Laslo drops a truth bomb about his staffing history.
Every butler he's ever hired was a literal spy from the 4 great families. It turns out the Crixus manor has been a revolving door for double agents and traitors this whole time. He admits he's been striking out on hires. Even Marcia was a fail because she didn't have any loyalty.
He's been searching for someone trustworthy for years, and he realizes the person he needs has been standing right in front of him.
You can be the butler. Laslo officially offers Edele the top spot. Edele is absolutely floored, blinking in shock as her whole world shifts in a single sentence. Edele tries to argue, but Laslo isn't having it. He points out her extensive experience managing finances and her proven ability to handle the staff. He's basically giving her a performance review that ends in a massive promotion. The real question, will she betray him?
Laslo reminds her that she already accepted his trust.
He challenges her to prove she's not greedy or full of nonsense, and you can see the deep bond between them strengthening right there on the rug. Laslo lightens the mood with some classic mercenary humor. He jokes that the house is already such a mess that she couldn't possibly make it any worse.
It's actually comforting, and Edele realizes she really can't help but say yes to this man.
Discussion over, the deal is sealed. Laslo leads her away, looking every bit the Count in his new suit. They are officially a power duo now, and the rest of the capital better start taking notes. Before he leaves for the palace, things get heavy. He shares a secret with his new butler, something she needs to know. The atmosphere turns dark and serious, showing that being the butler isn't just about tea and budgets, it's about carrying the family's burdens. Several days pass and Edele is thriving. She's handling everything from the entrance to the kitchen with total authority. The staff is falling in line, and Sir Butler is officially the most respected name in the manor. A fabric merchant arrives, and Edele shows him who is boss. She's vetting the goods, making sure everything is up to the Crixus family standards. She's not just buying, she's managing the house's reputation with every purchase. Negotiator mode, activated. Edele demands the fabrics be thicker and higher quality. She refuses to compromise on basic goods because she knows even minor details matter. The merchant is sweating, realizing he can't scam this butler. The merchant is terrified of this big mouth of mine getting him in trouble with a pro like Edele. He quickly agrees to her demands. Edele isn't just protecting the budget, she's protecting the house's honor from low-quality influence. Lady Linnea bursts in, and she's looking energized too. She's excited about the new gardener and is actually taking some responsibility for the estate. The transformation of the Crixus siblings is complete, and Edele is the heart of it all. Edele reviews the latest reports, focusing on how reputation is determined by the smallest differences. She is a perfectionist in her new role, ensuring the manor is polished to a high society sheen. Nathan arrives with the report on the new staff. Every single person has been vetted for trustworthiness. He admits he only did it because the captain ordered him, but you can tell his attitude toward Edele is changing. Redemption arc for Nathan. He officially welcomes her as a colleague and admits that while he once doubted her, he now trusts the captain's decision to place faith in her. The last barrier to Edele's total authority has finally crumbled. Edele is alone, pondering the great responsibility of the secret Laslo shared. She feels the weight on her fingers and in her heart, realizing she is now the keeper of the Crixus family legacy. On the night Count Laslo officially asks Edele to be his butler, he leads her through the manor with a surprisingly light step. He is moving with a sense of purpose, ready to unveil the secrets he has kept locked away from every other staff member for years. Laslo stops in front of a heavy, ornate safe. Edele is absolutely stunned as he prepares to open it right in front of her.
She realizes that this is no ordinary storage, it is the heart of the Crixus power, and she is the first one invited to see inside.
The family heads safe. Edele is shaken, questioning how he can open something so important in front of a mere maid. Laslo simply tells her she needs to know because it's important. The level of trust being established here is absolutely off the charts. Edele notes that such a privilege is typically reserved only for the lady of the house. For a butler to have this access is unheard of, but Laslo is making his own rules. He is essentially placing his life and his legacy in her hands with a single click of the lock. Laslo's honesty is brutal. He admits he is a man who could die at any moment. As a war hero and the Emperor's right-hand man, his life is a constant battlefield. He isn't being dramatic, he's being a realist who needs to know his house won't fall if he doesn't come home. He confesses he has no immediate plans for marriage and that Linnea is nowhere near ready to handle the estate's heavy details. He's been searching for someone worthy of his complete confidence for a long time, and he finally stopped looking once he found Edele.
Laslo reflects on his role as the Emperor's Mercenary King. He knows his position is precarious and that the House of Krissus is built on blood and merit, not old names.
This is why finding a reliable steward has become his most urgent mission. The threats are getting louder.
Laslo mentions the pressure from the three great families and his sister's constant fear for his safety.
He needs a pillar in this house, someone who can't be shaken by the political storms outside. He begins handing over the documents of enfeoffment and papers related to his territory. It's a physical transfer of power. He's telling her, "You are the butler," and he isn't taking no for an answer. Edele is still hesitant, warning him that his enemies will hunt her down. They will try to bribe her or threaten her once they know she holds the keys to the vault.
She's worried she'll become a target, but Laslo just smiles through her fear.
Laslo is certain she won't talk.
He reminds her that she is the person who refused a blank check. He knows she understands the true weight of trust because she has already proven she can't be bought.
You know the value and weight of trust. Laslo believes that when a person like Edele finds a place to stay, they become the most reliable ally. He's not just hiring a butler, he's choosing a partner for his life's mission. Then comes the heavy offer, "I will be the place you can lean on." He is turning their work contract into a mutual promise of support. Edele is moved, realizing she has finally found a sanctuary after years of running.
Edele starts reviewing the actual records and, gasp, the fortune is massive.
It is far greater than anything she imagined.
She realizes Laslo isn't just a successful mercenary. He's one of the wealthiest men in the empire, but he has zero clue how to spend it.
Laslo presents the signet ring. It's heavy, significant, and symbolizes her authority as the family head's proxy. When she puts it on, she is no longer a maid or a prisoner, she is the voice of Count Krissus himself. Edele accepts her duty with a grim resolve. She vows to protect the Krissus legacy until a true lady arrives or Linnea is ready. She's taking on the weight of the ring and the secret with everything she's got. Laslo watches from the shadows and notices the change. The woman who once wanted to die alone in a burning mansion now has a visible will to live. He's relieved and hopeful that she'll continue to like the life he's provided for her. Edele reflects on her growth. She's finally stopped being ashamed of receiving help. She admits she's always needed someone like Laslo. She's done running, and she's ready to build a real life in this manner. She decides to rewrite the reports and take her new role seriously. A few days later, the atmosphere in the manor is electric.
The entire staff is granted a rare holiday, something they never thought they'd see.
The servants are in shock, whispering that the masters will be away for a few days too.
They are happy and relieved, expressing their hope to keep working under such fair leadership forever.
The manor is finally a home for everyone. Edele takes a quiet moment at her window. She feels the literal and figurative weight of the secret Laslo shared. It's a great responsibility that is even heavier than the signet ring on her finger. Edele writes a heartfelt letter to Marchioness Barbara Celestine. She expresses how much she has missed her and vows to find a way to make up for the time they spent apart. The letter is signed with Laslo Krissus's seal, marking a new connection between the two houses. The emotional dam finally breaks. Edele and Dowager Marchioness Barbara share a tearful reunion, embracing like no time has passed.
They've both longed for this moment through all the trauma and separation, and the relief in the air is palpable.
Barbara can't believe everything Edele has been through. She knows how much her precious friend has suffered. Edele finally shares the news of her new career path, explaining that the laundry room was just the beginning. And that's how I became the butler. Barbara is stunned. She calls Count Laslo an unpredictable man, noting that this kind of appointment is virtually unheard of in any other noble family. Our girl just shattered the imperial glass ceiling. Edele points out the irony. Not only is she a convicted sinner, but she is the only woman in the empire serving as a butler.
It is a position of immense power and responsibility, and Barbara realizes just how much Laslo must trust her.
Barbara gives the Count credit where it is due. She notes he has a good eye for people because he didn't turn away a capable person like Edele just because of her past. He found real talent where everyone else saw only a scandal. Reflections on the past hit hard.
Barbara reminds Edele that it's only natural to want to do better and reclaim her rights.
Edele remembers being sold off by her family, but seeing Barbara look at her with the same respect as before gives her the strength to keep fighting. Edele admits that the House of Krissus has no foundation and she can't build it alone. She finally swallows her pride and asks Barbara for help. The student is officially asking the master for a lesson in social maneuvering. Barbara couldn't be happier to help. She's been waiting for the day Edele would lean on her again. They share a moment of true friendship that is worth more than any noble title or gold coin. Edele gets down to the business of manor management. She needs to secure business connections to keep the estate running. It is time to prove that she is just as good with ledgers as she was with laundry baskets. The Canyon family shadow is long. Edele explains that it's difficult to do business with any shop that has ties to her father's county. People are scared of the fallout, so she needs Barbara to bridge the gap with some trustworthy people. The meeting has to end, but Edele mentions the portrait Laslo promised to send. Barbara laughs, guessing the Count might have been too busy to follow through. Little do they know, he's probably staring at it in his office right now. The departure is handled like a spy movie. Laslo's men successfully lured away the people tailing Barbara's carriage. The Count is protecting this alliance from the shadows, proving he's more than just a brute with a sword.
Barbara is making a blood oath.
She vows to clear Edele's name so she is no longer a topic of gossip. She wants to free her from her sinner status and bring her into the care of House Celestine eventually. Enter the villain, Isaac Windblair. He's fuming because he just found out Barbara was spotted near the Crixus estate. He suspects the lowly bastard Laslo has joined hands with House Celestine to challenge his power. Windblair doesn't see any advantage for Barbara in joining the Emperor's faction.
He notes that Laslo has Edele Canyon on a leash, and starts wondering what her father, Dustin, is up to.
The political chessboard is getting very crowded. Windblair orders an investigation into the Canyon family. He knows Dustin Canyon doesn't care about his daughter, but he'll snatch any chance for profit. He senses a political shift coming and he is not about to be left behind. A major new player arrives at the Windblair estate, His Highness, Leandro. He is being introduced as a card to replace the Emperor. He is handsome, mysterious, and looks like he is ready to set the whole empire on fire. Back at the manor, Edele drops an invite to a famous art gallery. Laslo and Linnea are both completely ignorant and terrified of looking stupid. Laslo even tries to bribe Edele into taking Nathan instead so he won't be embarrassed. Edele isn't hearing the excuses. She tells the Count that art knowledge is a necessary social grace for high society. Laslo is pouting like a kid, and Edele is standing her ground. He's going to that gallery whether he likes it or not. Comical misunderstanding alert. Edele suggests they go together next time because he's busy, but Laslo takes it to mean he is a hindrance to her viewing.
He's internally crying while Linnea is just hyped to learn new things.
He is the Emperor's fiercest warrior, but a conversation about art has him completely defeated. Get ready, Count, because Butler Edele is about to turn you into a man of culture. Edele and Lady Linnea make their grand entrance at the Otis Gallery. But the atmosphere is anything but welcoming. As they walk in, the room is already buzzing with whispers. The highborn vultures recognize Edele immediately as the disgraced daughter of House Lancaster, and the side eyes are coming from every direction. Among the whisperers is Angela Bliss, and she is taking notes. She can't help but notice that despite being a sinner, Edele is being treated like royalty by the Krissus family. The irony isn't lost on her. The fallen Duchess is currently living a better life than many of the nobles who look down on her. Angela reveals her own secret struggle. As the daughter of a second son, she is facing a future of county leaving poverty unless she lands a power marriage soon. She is desperate, and desperation in this series usually leads to some major villain energy. Angela sets her sights on the ultimate prize, Count Laslo Krissus. He's rich, he's young, and he's suddenly the handsomest man in the capital. She's decided she will capture him, even if she has to overlook his mercenary past. Watch out, Edele, you've got a serious social climbing rival. Inside the gallery, Edele pulls a massive power move. She produces an entire checkbook entrusted to her by Laslo. The staff is absolutely floored that the Count would give a maid that kind of financial freedom. It is proof that in the Krissus house, Edele is the one who holds the strings. Edele isn't just there to browse, she's there to buy. Using a recommendation letter from the Dowager Marchioness, she secures the right to reserve exclusive pieces before anyone else. She is moving through the gallery with total Duchess-level authority, and I am here for it. Linnea is struggling to keep up. She admits that no matter how hard she looks, she can't tell what makes a painting good. She's feeling that classic new money anxiety of not belonging in a world of highbrow art. Poor girl is just trying her best to stay refined. Edele steps in as the ultimate art mentor. She tells Linnea that appreciation doesn't have to be difficult, it's about finding pieces that fit the space they live in. She's turning a complex social ritual into a simple lesson on interior design, and Linnea is finally starting to get it. To honor Laslo's military background, Edele chooses a painting of a war victory. She notes that while these themes are going out of style, it's worth hanging one for a man who is a literal war hero.
It's a subtle nod to the man who gave them this new life, and it shows how much she's thinking about his feelings.
Edele reveals her final choice, a painting that spoke to her despite the artist being totally unknown.
Linnea encourages her to trust her gut, realizing that Edele's taste is the foundation of the Krissus estate's new image.
The confidence Edele has in her own eyes is infectious. Edele describes the piece as a symbol of budding hope and the trajectory of light. It's a perfect metaphor for their household right now. She's finally feeling that her life has a direction other than down, and the optimism is absolutely glowing on her face. The piece is shattered in an instant. Edele is spotted by her own biological mother and brother from House Canyon.
These opportunistic vultures are always lurking, and seeing Edele out in public is like blood in the water for them.
Word reaches the man himself, Count Canyon. He reflects on how he previously saw Edele as a failed investment after the Lancaster house fell. He basically admits he threw her away because she wasn't bringing in any profit anymore. Talk about Father of the Year sarcasm. The Kenyans are lapping up the rumors that Edele is Laslo's mistress.
Instead of being offended, they think it's great because it means she has secured her position. They realize she might have some use left in her after all.
These people are literal social leeches. They've already cut ties with her, but they don't care about their reputation as much as they care about money. Canyon decides that if Edele can lead them to profit, they'll snatch her back up in a heartbeat.
It's a cold-blooded calculation that shows exactly what kind of hell Edele escaped from.
The Count orders his eldest son, William, to put a professional tail on Edele. He demands a spy good enough to evade Laslo's mercenaries. He's picking on his son to stand on his own feet while planning to use his daughter as a human shield for his next scheme. Kenyon is determined to re-establish his family name for William's sake. He views Edele as a tool to be bestowed with another role to benefit his son.
The cliffhanger is real as we realize Edele's biggest threats might not be the Imperial Palace, but her own flesh and blood.
Count Kenyon's cold ambition is on full display. He watches from a distance, deciding to exploit the woman who was once his daughter, Edele, to secure a prosperous future for his son. To him, she is no longer a child, but a tool for House Canyon's restoration. Night falls, and Edele is haunted by a dream of her younger sister, Lynn. She searches frantically through a hazy landscape, but the girl remains unreachable.
Even in her sleep, Edele feels the crushing weight of loss, realizing she cannot truly reunite with her sister even in her own mind.
The dream shifts to a rare childhood trip to an art museum. Edele recalls how her mother put on a public performance of being a devoted parent, telling the girls to hold her hand tightly so they wouldn't get lost. It was a scene carefully crafted for the eyes of others.
Edele remembers being happy even if the outing was just a show.
High society ladies praised her mother's dedication to her daughter's cultural lessons, but Edele knew the truth.
These outings were strategic moves designed to ensure profitable marriages for the Canyon daughters. Even if unloved, parents are a child's everything. Edele reflects on how children view their parents as their entire world, even when they are being used as social props.
She wonders if her recent visit to the Otis Gallery triggered these painful, bittersweet memories.
Awakening with a heavy heart, Edele is filled with regret.
She blames herself for not being a better older sister to Lynn and wonders what her sister in the dream was trying to tell her.
The grief of the past is still a constant companion in her new life. Shaking off the dream, Edele returns to her professional duties. She presents Count Laslo with financial documents regarding special holiday allowances for the servants. She's determined to manage the House of Krissus with the precision of a true butler. Laslo reviews the invoices with a sharp eye and stops on one specific line. He flags Edele's own allowance, claiming something about the amount seems very strange.
Edele is startled, wondering if she made a calculation error.
Laslo tells her the allowance she's supposed to receive is too low for someone in her position. He scoffs at the 400 lington figure and immediately orders it to be changed to 1,000 lington. Edele tries to protest, but the Mercenary King is not taking no for an answer. Laslo challenges Edele to live a little more greedily. He dismisses her lack of need for the money, stating she might need it while serving as his butler. He's essentially forcing her to accept a better life, one coin at a time. The surprises continue as Laslo produces a small, elegant box. He admits he had a feeling she would refuse more money, so he prepared a different reward. Edele looks on in shock as he reveals a stunning pair of diamond earrings. Edele is overwhelmed by the extravagance of the jewels. She tells him they are too much, but Laslo's face turns serious. He tells her it actually hurts him when she refuses his gestures of gratitude so strongly. Laslo insists it is just a token of his gratitude for her hard work. Edele finds herself unable to argue further, realizing that her refusal is making him look bad in his own office. The dynamic between them is shifting into something much more personal. Edele finally accepts the earrings for now. Laslo is visibly relieved, his complexion improving as the tension leaves his body. He dismisses her to rest, finally ending the intense encounter. Once he is alone, the Count's cool facade crumbles.
He collapses onto his seat and calls himself an idiot. He is frustrated by his own lack of courage to tell her the real reason he bought the jewels.
Laslo confesses the truth to himself. He didn't buy them as a mere reward.
He bought them because Edele has been appearing in his mind constantly.
He remembers the image of her beautifully adorned at a party years ago and wants to see that smile again.
He laments that he can't even say these things to her face.
He wonders if the day will ever come when she wears those earrings in front of him.
The Mercenary King is officially a man in the throes of unrequited longing. Elsewhere, a disgraced Masha Bowen is wandering the streets in a daze. She is muttering about wicked people and her desperate desire for revenge. She blames Edele for everything she lost and is spiraling into madness. Masha's spiral is interrupted when a mysterious stranger finds her. She is terrified, assuming he was sent by Count Krissus to finish her off. But the man tells her not to be surprised, he isn't there to harm her. The stranger makes a chilling declaration, he is an enemy of the Count. He offers Masha a chance to take their revenge together. A dangerous alliance is forming in the dark corners of the capital. Back at the manor, a sudden chill washes over Edele.
She realizes she was so distracted by the earrings and the Count's kindness that she forgot her primary mission.
She has yet to report a difficult marriage proposal that has arrived for him. A mysterious letter arrives at the Krissus estate, and you just know it's going to be trouble. A few days later, Viscountess Maya Bethinon shows up for a formal visit. She's using her connection to Count Erwin to gain entry into the manor, and honestly, the sheer audacity is already giving me a headache. Laslo isn't thrilled. He usually avoids the house of Bethinon, but the Emperor's orders to maintain friendly ties with Count Erwin make this meeting mandatory.
He's sitting there looking stoic while wondering what this woman actually wants.
Let the social games begin. Maya doesn't beat around the bush. She immediately starts questioning Count Laslo about his age, specifically, that he's 28 this year. She's looking at him like a piece of prize cattle, and Laslo is just trying to survive the interrogation without drawing his sword. The questions get personal. She asks if he's still unmarried and then probes to see if he has any secret past wives. She even asks if he's seeing anyone special in private. Laslo's cold he has not and he is not responses are peak Ice Count energy. Maya drops the bomb. She has a formal marriage proposal from the family of Lord Gregory, the second son of Count Bliss. She's gushing about his very pretty and lovely daughter, acting like she's doing Laslo a massive favor. It's the ultimate social trap. Maya stops talking mid-sentence when she sees Edele.
Laslo turns to Edele, who has to remind him that she actually delivered the letter about this days ago. Laslo admits he thought it was a joke because someone would send a proxy instead of coming themselves.
The Viscountess gets nasty. She pointedly says the butler of this house should understand the value of such a match. She's comparing Edele's own history of being sold off to an old dupe to emphasize why Count Bliss is such an upgrade. The shade is absolutely toxic. Laslo has heard enough. He coldly declares that he considers everything she's said to be unheard. He tells her he saw more than enough of Angela Bliss at the last party and doesn't need to find out more. He is basically shredding the marriage proposal in front of her face.
Maya is insulted and furious. She asks if he's confident he won't regret this, but Laslo just tells her it's no concern of yours. He demands she convey his intentions clearly and basically kicks her out of the manor.
As she stomps away, Maya calls him a rude and thoughtless person. Laslo turns to Edele and asks what she thinks of his decision.
Edele, being the professional butler, says she doesn't have an answer because he is the head of the family. Laslo reaffirms his choice. He won't regret rejecting them because he refuses to talk to anyone who tormented Linnea. Family loyalty over political gain, our Mercenary King has his priorities straight. Power upgrade for Edele. Laslo instructs her to reject these kinds of matters at her own discretion from now on.
He despises wastes of time, and Edele feels a wave of relief that her boss hates high society small talk just as much as she does.
Edele realizes that finding a partner for Laslo will have to happen through a different method than the social circle.
Laslo asks her to prepare some new tea and invites her to join him. He wants to see if the tea Linnea was boasting about is actually the best. Laslo is actually being soft.
When Edele suggests bringing Linnea along, he panics and says there's no need for that. The guy just wants a private moment with his butler, and it is honestly adorable to watch this warrior get flustered.
The mood shifts to a dark, rainy night. Something ominous is happening in the shadows of the capital. We see a mysterious figure in a cloak entering a high-security area. The vice commander of the Imperial Knights is making a move. Meet the conspirators.
Edmund Milton, vice commander of the Knights, is meeting with a powerful excellency. They are discussing their mutual hatred for Count Krissus, and the air is thick with betrayal.
Edmund asks the Excellency if he finds the Emperor's hunting dog to be an eyesore. The Excellency laughs, saying the mud is more of an eyesore to Edmund than to him. They are plotting to take Laslo down because he's a commoner favored by the throne. Edmund claims he's not concerned with the captain's position, but he is worried that a mud has become the Emperor's closest aide. He sees Laslo's rise as a grave matter that threatens the established noble order. Edmund is disappointed in the Emperor's judgment for favoring commoners. The Excellency understands his intentions and prepares to ask one more thing. The conspiracy to punish Laslo and Edele is officially moving into high gear. Edmund Milton is ready to become the sword that restores the Empire's traditional order.
He's swearing on his blue blood that he will destroy those who disrupt the nobility.
The target is on Laslo's back, and the danger is closer than they think.
Training for the day finally concludes. Count Laslo gives the order for everyone to clean up and wrap it up, but he isn't sticking around to supervise. He's already heading for the exit before his men can even put their swords away. The knights are left in the dust, noting just how fast their commander is moving today.
One of them jokingly wonders if he left a treasure chest at home.
They can't help but notice he looks almost excited to leave the grounds, which is a total 180 from his usual stoic self. The men discuss how training was brutal at first, but now they're finally at the point where they don't pass out.
They realize the normally terrifying commander has been in a much better mood lately, and is far less scary than before.
Something good has definitely happened to him. Back at the manor, Edele is already waiting with tea. She welcomes Laslo back, telling him he's worked hard again today. This has become their new daily ritual, sharing a quiet moment before diving into the mountain of household paperwork. Laslo returns the compliment, telling Edele that she, as the one handling the affairs of the house, has worked even harder.
He encourages her to keep doing her best with the remaining work.
The mutual respect between them is growing over every cup of tea they share. Laslo reflects on this new routine. Even though it's only for a short while as he reviews documents, he finds these tea sessions with Edele to be the most fulfilling part of his entire day. It's a rare sanctuary of peace for the man who grew up in the noise of war. Edele asks if today's tea suits his palate.
Laslo admits the aroma is excellent, and Edele is visibly glad that she could find something he actually enjoys.
They are slowly learning each other's tastes, one sip at a time. Laslo has learned that tea, like people, has a massive variety of flavors and types.
He realizes that some things can only be seen after you've experienced them, and you can find a presence that truly brightens your heart.
Our Mercenary King is getting low-key poetic. The peace is shattered when Lady Linnea bursts in.
She catches them hanging out without her again and is not happy about being left out of the loop.
She's pouting like a kid, and the domestic vibe in the room just went from romantic to chaotic in 5 seconds. Laslo tries to maintain his professional facade, telling her they are working, not hanging out. Linnea explains she came back early because something urgent came up at the bring-in estate for her friend Jeremiah. She wasn't about to spend her day off alone. Linnea demands a cup of tea too and tells her brother to stop ignoring her. She playfully teases him, saying that if she can make friends after all this time, he should go out and make some of his own too. Laslo just tells her to sit down and drink her tea. Linnea occasionally catches Laslo off guard with her bluntness.
He knows he needs to expand his social circle for the family's sake, but for just a little longer, he wants to enjoy this simple time spent with his family and Edele.
The next day at the palace, a new player enters the game. Edmund Milton is formally introduced as the new vice-commander of the Royal Guard. He's a former Imperial Knight with the support of many powerful nobles, and he is coming in with a massive ego. Milton puts on a polite act, telling the men he looks forward to working with them. But Laslo is immediately suspicious. He knows Milton is an unpleasant bastard who only got the job through political recommendations after the previous guy was dismissed in a scandal. Laslo stays on guard during the introductions.
He is particularly bothered by Milton's snake-like eyes. While everyone else seems impressed by the new appointee, Laslo's mercenary instincts are screaming that this man is a major threat.
Milton plays the humble servant for the Emperor. He claims he is merely there to share the burden that Count Krissus has been carrying all alone. The Emperor calls the vow worthy of a knight, but you can tell Milton is just reciting a script. The Emperor continues to tease Laslo, telling him to learn from Milton's humble inner self. He jokes that a splendid appearance is useless if the inside doesn't match. Laslo just rolls his eyes, knowing his inner self is way too battle-hardened for noble etiquette. The Emperor is being unusually friendly with Laslo, treating him like a close younger brother. He even boasts that his own face shines brighter when he stands next to handsome young men like Laslo and Milton. He notes the servants are obsessed with Laslo's new look. Milton is internally seething at the display of closeness. He mocks Laslo as a mutt who has managed to become the Emperor's closest aide. He believes the Marquis of Windblair was right, the traditional noble laws are crumbling because of commoners like Crixus. Milton is already mapping out his plan to remove Laslo from the palace. He's perfectly memorizing the geography to make swift judgments later. He wants to take the commander position for himself and ensure there is no place for the likes of you in the future empire. Milton runs into Viscount Bringen and switches back to his nice guy facade. They reminisce about a pleasant chat at a past party, and Milton uses the opening to launch his first social attack. He's planting the seeds for a major social event that will put Laslo in the spotlight.
Milton maliciously suggests that it would be wonderful for Count Laslo to host a grand party.
He wants to see the mercenary struggle with hosting high society. He is determined to expose Laslo's pathetic side to the entire nobility and crush his reputation for good. Edmund Milton is officially playing dirty.
He meets with the disgruntled Marcia, who is more than happy to spit venom about Edele Lancaster.
She claims Edele is a wicked woman who used her beauty to become a mercenary's mistress just to kick Marcia out. Marcia continues her rant, complaining that Edele lacks any noble pride and has run wild since taking over the household. She acts like a victim of a savage takeover, but Edmund sees exactly what he needs, a scandal to smother his rival. Sensing an opportunity, Edmund decides to buy that information. He promises to install Marcia as a maid in a prominent noble house on one condition: she must spread this rumor to everyone she meets. He wants to poison the social well before Laslo even knows what's happening. Edmund's plan is simple but lethal. He wants to control where the rumor flows. By using Marcia's mouth to feed the noble guests, he hopes to bury the Crixus reputation under a mountain of disgrace. The trap is set, and the stage is almost ready. Back at the manor, Count Laslo surprises everyone by suggesting it's finally time to host a party.
He's thinking a simple dinner, but Edele immediately clocks the reality.
She points out that inviting people from the capital for a simple meal is actually a formal banquet requiring massive preparation.
Laslo realizes he was being a bit too hasty and apologizes.
But Edele doesn't want him to cancel.
She encourages him to use this as a chance to prove the Crixus family's standing and show the Emperor's faction exactly what they are capable of.
Edele takes the lead and starts dropping numbers. She proposes a banquet in early October with a guest list of 150 people. Laslo is stunned by her immediate calculations. He has no idea his butler used to run grand events for the Duchy of Lancaster.
For the first time in years, Edele feels genuine joy in her work.
She wants to see the mansion she worked so hard to redecorate filled with life and guests. It's not just a job anymore, it's a passion project, and she's ready to show off her new home. Laslo is all in. He resolves to support Edele so she can work to her heart's content. The two head to the office and start drafting the formal guest list together. They are a professional powerhouse, and the capital has no idea what's coming. As the invitations start circulating, high society is absolutely set ablaze. Everyone is gossiping about the reclusive mercenary count finally opening his doors. The anticipation is building, and every noble lady in the capital is trying to score an invite. At a local tea party, the ladies are already judging. They're debating whether Laslo has invited enough prestigious guests to actually raise his status. They're looking for any excuse to mock the newcomers, unaware that Edele has already curated the perfect elite list. Angela Bliss enters the chat and drops a bombshell on her friends. She has fallen in love with the handsome count. Her social circle immediately pledges their help to secure the match. They believe his mercenary roots are irrelevant as long as his fortune and title are secure. Angela is privately planning a hostile takeover. She resolves to marry Laslo and take control of the household. Her first order of business as the new lady? Sending Linnea far away so she doesn't have to deal with the sister-in-law. To keep her allies loyal, Angela distributes expensive, fragrant black tea as gifts.
While they enjoy the aroma, she subtly brings up the sinner living at the Crixus manor.
She's planting seeds of doubt while looking like a gracious angel. The gossip that Edele has become the count's mistress spreads like wildfire through the tea parties. The nobility is lapping up the scandal, exactly as Edmund Milton intended. Edele's reputation is being shredded before she even greets her first guest. Meanwhile, the Canyon family is busy plotting their own heist. Edele's father and brother believe they can demand a massive repayment for her upbringing. They view her as a cash cow and are preparing to squeeze every penny out of her new position. Back in the carriage, the Canyon sons are discussing how to use Edele to restore their family's wealth. They have zero affection for her, only a cold desire for profit. Edele is being hunted by the very people who should have protected her. The fragrance of the gift tea fills the room, and everyone is impressed.
Angela smiles, knowing her gifts will buy the silence and support she needs for her social climb.
She's playing a long game, and Edele is her biggest obstacle. Angela reflects on how being an older sister is a thankless position. She tells Viscountess Emerson that she's worried about a rumor she heard. She's making it look like she's sharing a secret out of concern, but it's a calculated strike. You know that sinner at the Crixus mansion? Angela whispers the rumor that Edele has become Laslo's mistress. The poison is officially in the system, and Edele will have to fight not just for the banquet's success,